maybe. There we go. We're on a little bit behind this morning, but would like to call the meeting to order at 9:05. Could I have a motion to approve our agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay. And then we'll, before we do the Pledge of Allegiance, it would help me in my feeble hearing, and especially with Melissa back here, if you guys don't mind miking up, so I can, when we're having our discussions.
Yeah, sorry, I'm struggling to hear you guys sometimes, so if you wouldn't mind, Corey and I thought it would help us.
Yeah, well, it would help me. I just have a hard time. I know we can't read lips with masks, but anyway, thank you. Let's have a Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. All right, well, this is Melissa's day to shine. She's the only one in this room that likes dealing with budgets. So, anyway, we've got a pretty robust list. We're going to try to take a break around 12, but that could float depending on where we are in the process. But anyway, let's just start with you. Mic up if you would, Melissa, and we're going to get our handy dandy books out here.
All right, so if you guys want to go ahead and open up your budget workbooks
Okay.
to the Board of Supervisors tab, we'll go ahead and just start with you guys, since you guys were first on the agenda. Yep. Okay, so pretty straightforward on here. On page 1, that's going to be just your salary increases, all of the changes then for FICA, IFRS, dental and insurance. So you'll see those changes. You'll also see the insurance decrease because of our discount this year, our increased discount. Does anybody have any questions on page 1?
I'm trying to find the BOS.
Oh, it should be the
It's a
front
very
tab.
Oh, this page?
No,
Right there.
should be a green tab, POS board.
Here it is. It just didn't have a tab. I got it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, you are missing the tab. So I think you tried to put them kind of in order. didn't you?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm ready. Go ahead.
Yep, they should be somewhat. They will be this, well, they won't be once we get to board control.
After this one, we'll go slow because it takes me a while to find the TJ.
Yeah, well, then she'll throw in account number 900 and like, what does that mean?
So these are all just pretty standard. It's just your regular increases. And then on page 2, this is just for you guys. It's, you know, your travel expenses, to pay if you have any supplies, your publications, that's for all of the minutes to be published in the paper. And then also mileage and then just routine telephone, educational expenses, those types of things. So pretty standard, nothing really fluxed from this year to next year. Actually, you're going to see a decrease in your overall budget, even with that salary increase due to the insurance decreasing so much this year. So,
Melissa, could we, I can't even recall what the number is, could we, from a budget standpoint, and give a little more information, talk about NACO, National Association of County Government? We've talked about that over the last 2 or 3 years to potentially join it, and we've never done it. I don't know.
yep, we do have it budgeted in here.
You do? Okay.
Yep, I believe it's actually 99 that we'll see that. So, yep, we do have that budgeted.
Okay.
And so we just need to send it in then this year.
Okay, well, then we can talk about whether it's advantageous for us or not.
Yep, yep, absolutely.
Okay.
So do you guys have any specific questions regarding that?
No.
I don't.
We started with yours.
Any questions? If not, did we, as I remember last year, did we go through and we approve each one?
Yes, I just need a
Okay.
motion to approve.
Is this, well, so we're
Typically
approving,
how we do it.
Just the supervisor's budget?
is it that pay increase for ourselves, is that being approved here? That 4%, or is that not part of this?
Yeah, that's part of it, so if you wish to,
I don't think we need to do that for ourselves. I said myself, I don't think, I'd be fine leaving the 0
okay?
increase.
And,
What can we do? I don't know the rules, but can we go down?
We go
Yep.
down on us, but then do we have to,
so the Board of Supervisors, per the comp board and per the Code of Iowa, that is actually, something, that as the board, you guys can choose to do separately for you.
okay,
So if you choose to exclude yourself, you can always, zero yourself out. It's, I think, it's 331,905, I believe. Hold on, let me pull it up. But yes, you guys can, if you choose to, a salary increase, less or zero out yourselves.
Well, that's where my feelings are. I think it's, if we're gonna ask other people to,
are we gonna ask, I mean,
I don't know, I mean, it's a pretty hard year. A lot of people, Allen's Restaurants had hard, a lot of people had hard times, so. Trying to think about the best way to lead is to take the worst for yourself, probably. I'm okay with that. That's my opinion. I would say 0 for the supervisors.
what do you say for the rest?
I don't know, I have to hear all their issues, I don't know exactly for them, but
Well, a year ago, I would have advocated 0 for the supervisor, in fact, I did, but I won't advocate that this year.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Chuck.
I just said, a year ago, I did advocate 0, Sal. This year, I'm not in that, not in that mode. I think unless we do it to everybody. And I don't think, and I know people have had a tough year. But I think we need to look at the budget, see what it would support, because I really believe that next year, we may be in a position where we're not able to give raises. And if we're in a position to do so this year, and the comp board says 4%, I think we ought to try to personally do that. But that's just my feeling, and I don't know, I suppose we need to figure this out here on ours, would entertain a motion, I guess.
Read again the code there, Melissa, sorry.
Grab that for you. Oh, wrong tab. My bad. All right. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Do you want me to read the whole thing?
Just read pertaining to whatever you need to read to explain
Okay.
about the adjustment of.
The Board of Supervisors may adopt a decrease in compensation paid to supervisors irrespective of the County Compensation Board's recommendation compensation schedule or other approved changes in compensation paid to other elected officers. A decrease in compensation paid to supervisors shall be adopted by the Board of Supervisors no less than 30 days before the county budget is certified.
that's something else I thought of in all this, and I don't have that paper with me, but to my memory, I think Taylor County is making about 22,000, I think, is what they're making, and I don't remember what Fremont County was, it was more, but I think we're paid pretty well compared to other counties surrounding us. And if we think next year's gonna be bad, the way I go into a bad year, the year before, trying to prepare for that as far as saving towards it, so. And the other budgets, other people have different situations.
And you can, this says at the public hearing too, you can revisit this too. Because at the public hearing, the recommendation for the comp board comes before, I always have that resolution for you guys as well.
Okay,
So we could accept it as it is now, but we could still, before March 1st, March 15th, we could still, what did you say, 30 days ahead of the certification?
Yep, and that's, but now we have that other process too. So I think you have to do it when we do the publication
Okay,
process.
so we'd have to do it before February 1st?
It would be, I have to double check on it. It's one of the two.
Okay.
You see, they changed that process. Remember, now we have the two publications this time. Last year was the first year for that. Remember, you post it all and you do the initial, if you're 2% above or below.
okay. So then, in other words, we don't have to decide today.
We can do it one way or the other and still revisit it at a later time if we need to.
Yep, you can
Adjustments.
approve the budget with the motion to include revisiting the salary portion if you'd like.
So if it's agreeable, let's approve the budget and not get, and then have the discussion about the percentage raise at a time later, once we see
Fine.
the whole picture.
I'm new to this, but why would we approve it if we're not done with it yet? Still discussing, that's the question, I don't know. What's the gain in approving it now?
Well, just so we know that the rest of everything else is okay, because then you can keep moving forward. Kind of as we go through each budget, we like to know that your guys are good with everything in this, so we know it's not, if not, we put it back on the agenda as another agenda item, which you'll rediscuss the salary portion for everybody. Again.
I want to make sure that our individual, I think ours is going to be different than everybody else's, right? Am I understanding that right?
Yes,
So
it could be, correct.
that's a whole different deal. This is all new to me, so I'm trying to understand it, but
Yep, it says you may adopt a decrease in compensation paid to supervisors irrespective of the county compensation board's recommendation, compensation schedule, or other approved changes in compensation paid to other elected officials. A decrease in compensation paid to supervisors shall be adopted by the board of supervisors no less than 30 days before the county budget is certified under section 24.17.
and zero is as low as we go. We can't go negative. Can you go down?
You can propose.
We can. I understand the rules. But what you gotta see, if we get hard times, you don't know what you can do. Well, I still wanna discuss this more, so I don't know how to, I wanna make sure I don't do away with that by voting on this. If I'm not,
We'd be able to discuss it more, if I'm understanding correctly, Melissa.
Later.
We'd be able to and discuss it more before the public hearing is held.
Mhm.
Yes, so we can go through them all and then we can mark ones that we have still concerns about, put those back on a later agenda.
and adjust it.
And
Different departments.
because there may be,
A
you
lot of
know,
times we bring in, like if we have, a lot of times there's certain departments that have to come in twice if there's issues or if we're working through something with them.
How do we know how much money we have right now? Do we
Um,
have that figured out?
Yep,
If we're-
so if you look on, in the front part of your book, Jacob, right
Oh,
before.
that first sheet?
This sheet right here, Jacob, this shows you where we're at with our levies. So none of our levies flexed this year. And actually, our levy is gonna go down by about 6 cents, already this year. And then if you look at this, not this next piece, this is insurance. But if you look at this sheet right here, it says it's a fund balance worksheet.
I think I have that in an email.
I don't think I-
I don't have a fun balance.
You don't have a fund
I
balance?
think it's in this
Okay,
email.
I can get you guys some copies, but, I thought we put this in there. So basically, as of right now, like the general fund has a fund balance with everything currently that's in the budget. It has a fund balance of $2,463,000. Re-estimated for 2020-21 is right about 2.9. That doesn't include the amendment portion because we didn't get the amendment through there. So based on how that would include all the CARES money and stuff, but that hasn't been reallocated out. So you're running a pretty similar fund balance than what we ran. I think last year when we closed, it was about 2.5 million. And the year before it was about 2.4. So, we're fairly close on those. General stuff is running actually a little bit higher at 1.3 million, almost 1.4 million. And, in the last several years, it's ran approximately right around that. So, last year, I think it was at 66%, you ran at 68, which we run a little bit higher of, general stop balance, but we pull a lot, from like dispatching those and sometimes emergency services and things like that. We do transfers, but if there's any, thing that's not budgeted in emergency management, then that automatically comes out of general supplemental. So we try to keep a little bit higher of a balance just to ensure. The last couple of years, there's been some microwave problems, things like that we haven't known about to budget for. So just to make sure we keep that fund balance and then have the funds we need. And I can get you some copies of some of these things. So, and rural services, we run about, this year we have 143,000 in there. Last year we ran about 125,000. So all of our balances, are right on target, and I can get you a copy of this too, so.
And so that has the projected things we're looking at here, kind of figured in, we're gonna remain there in that balance, is that what you're saying, or that's just, not a good question. Is that 2.5 million mean after we do this budget, that's where you think we'll end up still, or?
Yeah, so this is from our software, so I punched everything in, and then it recalculates all my fund
Okay.
balances. So this is saying right
That's
now,
fine.
with everything in there as is, this is where we're at.
Okay,
Now, as we flux and adjust, I have to.
it's gonna change.
Yep, and that's why on some of these kind of unique situations, I sometimes try to leave out at the beginning so you guys can see with right now where things are at. I feel like it gives you a more accurate picture.
All right, does that answer your
I
question?
think so.
Okay. So,
I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Supervisors budget.
I'll second that.
okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Okay, move on to the auditor's budget, which is the next tab. Is there anything that you want us to take special note for in this budget, Melissa?
No, did you find the tab?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so, pretty standard in here, salaries, increases, insurance increases, or insurance decrease, sorry. Pretty standard, pretty routine from, last year. Everything else pretty much stayed the same. The only, I try to leave things the same. You're gonna see that this year my numbers were a little bit lower on used. A lot of that's because of COVID, no meetings, few lodging, but, usually in previous years, we ran pretty close to those. And I do feel like next year we might have a few more meetings just for some catch up regarding some things. So pretty standard, overall with everything in there. It's, a pretty standard budget, so.
Any questions by anybody as you look through there?
On the salary stuff, is it just a hair over 50%? Is that just because the days we're into it, or you know what that means? Because we're over half a year? No?
Yes, yes, yep. And it's all, So when you look at the use column for this year,
Mhm.
that's all retrospective of the time.
Right.
So like if I ran it 2 weeks later, it would show any payroll that has changed since then too. Yep. So our software updates everything as we go through, which is really nice. So one year I actually got
Put that up a little
printed.
closer, I have a hard time
Sorry.
hearing you. Thank you.
One year I actually got it all printed December 31st, so that was really nice because then it has.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen very often.
Right.
So.
Any other questions? I don't want to rush through this. I know it's your first budget, so take as much time as you need to look.
I mean, everything has changed, stayed the same except for office equipment and salaries, pretty much on the budget side. Usage wise, or
And this year, I feel like too, you know, we haven't done the amendments, and I do feel like our general fund is actually gonna come in probably at the end of this year a little bit higher than we anticipate, just because like a lot of these, like even though I have extra money in my education and in, like my mileage and those types of things for travel, for meetings, I didn't change those, and I don't think a lot of people have this year. But I do feel like, you know, all of that rolls back into the general fund then at the end of the year. So, even though we're not amending to change those, that will come in at the end of June too to flux those. So,
correct? I don't see any issues or any questions.
No, I'm ready for it, but let Jacob
Yep.
go through it,
Yep.
and whenever you're ready, make a motion, Jacob.
That's just some printer, just trying to figure this out. 17, 18, 18, 19. And a pretty good jump, a lot less jumps here. What was the deal back then? What made those jumps so big? It doesn't matter.
Which line?
It just shows the different years.
Which line though?
What would that be? I guess the salaries, I guess.
Okay, the deputy salary.
Did they hire people or something?
Yep.
It changed.
yep,
I see. 'Cause it didn't do as much last year. I just,
Probably went from 1 to 2 deputies
yeah, okay.
that year, maybe.
I think
83
it was-
to 92.
actually, I think during that time, we had it, 1 year we had someone leave and then we just get them replaced for
Oh, for
a while.
Okay.
So, if there's anything like that, that creates an actual fall, I think that might happen the year someone left, and if, like, it's not a retirement or something, it's harder to get somebody, there's a few weeks where you might not have somebody in that position.
Yeah, and insurance will fluctuate if you have single to family.
Right, right.
So,
Yep.
Okay. I think it looks in order to me. So
Okay, well, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the auditor's budget.
Okay,
I'll second it.
all right, motion and second, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then the elections budget,
Down a stack, about 6 or 7, and it's a
Yep.
pink tab on my book.
Did you guys find the tab?
I did, I don't know, Jake, have you found it yet? It's
down there,
about 6 or 7 down there, elections.
General.
should be on the right, kind of toward the right side, I think.
It's right after assessor.
I just saw that. Right, so,
Recorder, assessor, elections.
It's,
attorney, sheriff, assessor, I see it, their elections right there. Got it.
Yep,
Got it.
it's gotta be an easier way, it's difficult to find.
yeah.
They hide.
Yeah, they do hide, I would agree. All right, so anything weird in this one, Melissa?
So this one's pretty standard too. It is, pretty routine from this year to last year. This year, we did have to take on that expense for the Precinct Atlas software. So that's again reflected in this year's budget. It was in the current year's too, but, that was a change from the state. So, we used to get that provided from the state for free, and, they're going out of the business of offering that. So we did have to pay for that now, starting in this fiscal year. So that was really the main change. On the local option, or on the local election side there on page 3, we did go ahead and we budgeted as though if we do have a special election. So we always budget for one special election basically a year. Those are all, if they are requested, those are all revenues and we receive back in. But we do always go ahead and budget. If we don't need those, then we don't use those lines, of course. But for budgeting purposes, it makes more sense to budget for it.
Are those billed out to the requesting authority 100% of cost?
Yep,
Okay.
yep. So like we do actually have a special election, and part of the reasoning too, we've had conversations with another entity that potentially might have another special election in this coming fiscal year. But we do have a special election coming up here in March. So we typically run about one every fiscal year. So it's just, then so it's in there, ready to roll. So. But as you can see, like this year, if we don't need it, we don't use it, so then it just rolls back into your general supplemental. So if you look at page 3 and the used to date, you can see that none of those line items have been in because we won't use those until March. So. Do you guys have any questions?
COVID-19 supplies,
Yep.
well, mainly was that.
So we received,
12,000.
3 grants this year for 25,000, that's in the amendment, I don't have the amendment in
Okay.
here yet, so
Okay.
you're gonna see the expenses out. It
Okay, so
budgeted,
that's-
whereas here in a couple weeks, once we get the amendment, everything approved through the paper, that will change on our budget sheet.
Right.
So, but
So-
we did go ahead and break those out as separate line items, so we can.
So the 25,485 are grants that we received
Yes,
to help
correct.
cost that expense of the
Yep.
related, okay.
So, and we could use those for a multitude of different things. We used them for mailings. We did we did 2 mailings this year. And then as well, we used it for any supplies, sanitizing items, plexiglass shields,
Mhm.
all
Sure,
of those
sure.
types of
Yeah,
things.
yeah. All the things that we had to have for the election special, but,
Yeah,
okay,
so,
okay.
but I did break those out in the budget just because I wanted to see,
Sure.
those expenses separately.
So as we approve these are gonna be posted in the paper, like they're approved, or is that still more work to go on them before they go on the paper?
No, those still be, like, we'll go through each budget, Jacob, and then we actually have to publish the, main top sheet regarding all of the county's expenses and revenues, and then that goes in the paper. And then we post that if it's over a 2% increase, and then there's a public hearing on that. And then we hold another public hearing regarding, basically it's called our budget hearing, and that people can come to discuss different departments and, issues too. But each individual little budget is not posted, it's the overall total county budget that all rolls in together.
Yeah, the line items are
Right.
obviously published. All right, any motion on the elections budget?
I'll make a motion to approve the elections budget.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have motion and second. Any other discussion, by the way?
Now, thank you, Melissa, for your staff and for all that the workers did this year. That was I know it was pretty overwhelming, to what they encouraged, all the changes and all the other factors. So I think it turned out pretty successful for Page County. So, it's quite different, I'm sure. So, but the people assisting were still courteous and very nice.
Yeah, and we were fortunate that, this year with COVID, it kind of presented unique challenges for everybody,
Yeah.
but, we were able to pick up some different workers this
Yeah,
year.
yes,
And that was really,
I think your number of people involved were a lot more than.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and we had to have different people, to sanitize and stuff like
Right,
that between
right.
years.
yeah.
So, was a fun year, and I don't wish to repeat, but.
All right, we have motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. All right, we're a little bit ahead of schedule. Hallelujah. Discuss and approve board control budgets. We're going to start with the local option sales tax.
Yep. So this one might take you guys a little bit longer, and you're gonna see in here, you're actually gonna wanna look at this spreadsheet. I don't have the actual numbers in, the budget itself.
Okay.
Yeah, just because, with the transfers and everything, it's kind of a nightmare until you guys decide what you're gonna do. So this is just a rough, spreadsheet here. But basically with this, local option this fiscal year, increased, last year it was about, I think 425 or 427,000. I might be off a couple thousand on that. This year it has jumped to 527,000. So you can budget based on that. I will tell you, I haven't reached out to others, but I don't know if we'll hold that pattern. That's a pretty significant jump in a year. And so I went ahead and put it in. If you see, look over on the right, it says the DOR, which is the Department of Revenue. I have put it over there, but I would also encourage you guys that conservatively, you might want to consider, because the reality is we have it, and so they'll pay us every month. But then at the end of the year, if we have a shortfall, then we have to pay that, like it comes usually in September, October. So I have budgeted for all of those, and it could continue. I just, with that being that large of a jump, it kind of, so I just basically then, you do have, based on the ballot for local option sales tax, you do have that 40-40-20 split. So 40% has to be property tax relief, 40% has to be community betterment, 20% has to be infrastructure. So with that increase, I just went ahead and you guys can change all this. I just did a tentative kind of thing. I put in under property taxes, the 37,776 for capital projects. So if you want to, you can hold some of your local option and let that accumulate if you're going to do a large project. So if you're thinking about doing the jail, or if you're thinking about any other projects, like in the past, this year we budgeted for 30,000 for windows. We haven't gotten that done this year, so I went ahead and just left that in here for next year, just because that was, and you guys can change that too, but we just, with the budget, with COVID and everything, we've had a few other things, the annex and everything kind of took priority over some of those things. So that was just something that our maintenance has been busy doing other things, especially with the extensive cleaning and those types of things, that it hasn't worked to really start that project yet this fiscal year. So, but I did, if you look under capital projects for property tax and then under community betterment, there is 37 as well under there. We did also, Brenda and I have talked, I still did leave that 42,000 under the historical preservation. We are waiting to get an estimate, so that could change. He couldn't get here until tomorrow, but we started that whole digital process. We have the first phase complete. I did speak with Brenda last week, and the next phase that we'd like to move into is getting some of those really, really older books of hers now scanned, so that way people could access those online. We currently right now don't really have anything like the indexes are online, but you can't really charge a fee for any of those. So there would be some revenue generated from the next phase, but we talked about the minutes and stuff like that too, but we do feel the first side of things is more prevalent at this, we feel like more people would use those.
As I recall, when we talked about that last year, we thought potentially this could be a 3-year project, right? Not a 2-year project?
Yes, so the minutes would be the next step of this. I don't feel like the minutes would be as extensive of a, like as expensive. So, because I think that the last time we had that was right around 8 or 10,000. Don't quote me on that. I'd have to re-ask him tomorrow when he's here. But, so that would be kind of, and we could continue on with this because the more, it's really neat. If you guys have a moment at some point this week, stop down and Ian can show you. But it is, I mean, it's like last week we got a call on something and something that used to take Ian like 25, 30 minutes to find, took her like 3 minutes. Like, so, but once we get some of these online too, you know, it's like Brenda and I probably won't take people, if they're looking back in the older books, they won't have to necessarily come in then, they can do that all online too. So,
What is,
we do find that there's value in it, it's up to you guys if you want to continue to fund that project, so.
Jacob, you had a question?
well, yeah, what, on the first deal there, it says transfer to rural basic for law enforcement, and the next section is transfer to GB for law enforcement. What is those two different things?
So-
40,000 and 72,000.
On those, that is basically transfers from, so you're considering that property tax relief and community betterment. I think at one point in time, when and I might have this wrong, so, but I think at one point in time, well, it helps because it reduces your overall, like your tax asking, because you're actually using some of your local options for that. But also too, you can include that because it would be considered community betterment and property tax relief for those items. So you're actually then able to fund some of your technically deputy stuff. You know, you would at every time, you can look at
That's what
it
they're
as
using
if
it
you're
for.
doing computers, really anything, you could say that you're using part of that local option because then you're not having to tax your taxpayers.
And that's kind of a response to the study that was done a couple of years ago by our sheriff about the costs of law enforcement. And at that time, I don't know if it's changed much, at that time, as I recall, we were paying, the rural basic was supporting about 35% of the actual cost. And so this is another way to supplement the rural basic without having to ask
Raise
for more.
taxes.
Yeah.
I see. What is the next section, community betterment, just same sort of thing? The 72,000, you'll write that next line down there.
Let's see.
Transfer to GB for law enforcement. What does that mean?
The 72,000, that would be just same principle, is moving it from, because of rules that the auditor's department has to do, there's certain ways they can do transfers to make things stay within the guidelines that we're allowed to do in the county, correct? And isn't that kind of why you have it 2 different times split up?
Well, because you're actually saying some of it's property tax relief and some of it's
Part of
community
it's-
betterment.
yeah.
So you're hitting
Yeah.
that balance.
Yeah.
Both ways.
Yes, yeah,
And this is where the library comes into it here,
right. And that's based on, that 13 is, 9 is based on,
that percentage.
right.
So I did leave the libraries at the 34, that's a discussion
Mhm.
you guys will have to have. The state minimum, I calculated that at 32,104.89, so that is still exceeding the minimum.
Right.
As you can see, it's that 6.75 or 675, yeah, I said that right, was over there. So this is 71448444445. But if you want to change that, that's up to you guys, so.
But the state minimum is 32,104, you can't go below that.
Correct.
Did the libraries get something for doing, according to library anyway, for doing the election there? Did they get paid for that or not? Did they get something?
I'm sorry.
When we did the election, I voted for the library.
Oh,
Did they get rent or something for that, or is that just a service they provided?
that's a service that, because we can, I'd have to look back at the code, but we can use different government, I think, right, word government, like we can use
I-
the school, those types of places.
just another service they provide, just kind of like the historical building in Shannon, that where people go to.
Yeah.
Right, they're on here too, I guess.
If it's an outside entity, you pay them.
So are you
And it's
wanting,
usually very small.
are you wanting to see that number grow?
I don't know, they do a lot of good things. I don't know, everybody down here does those, so it's hard to know who needs more or less.
I'll excuse myself from any discussion on the library since I'm on the library board at Shenandoah. I'll not make any comments or
Okay.
other than, I'll let you guys kind of talk about that.
So if we did up the library just a tiny bit, would we take from somebody else, what we gotta do? We'd take away from another budget?
Yeah.
Well, one thing that has been kind of a change over the last few years, the daycares, you'll see there, there's no contribution to the daycares. And of course, that was, with the thought process of trying to use more tax relief dollars, collect for either projects or tax relief. And so, which caused some stress, and clearly caused some stress in the daycare. But, and the other thing, our libraries, I don't disagree, Jacob, they do a wonderful, wonderful job. And, we're blessed to have really great library directors in Page County. The only question that I would have is, I'm not opposed to raising it, but let's kind of see what projects there are. I mean, let's see what the whole picture looks
Right,
like.
no.
Because I really believe in tax relief. If you cut into that transfer of rural basic, that hurts people who live in the country. I think that if you don't put away enough for a jail project, for example, start building a fund, I don't know. Again, there's a lot of information here, and,
Yeah, it's a lot of hope to
It's
figure it
still-
all out. There's a lot to figure all out here, where the hole
Yeah.
might be.
pretty early.
Were you, did you get to, Jacob, did you get a copy of either the library reports when they were here to see how they're funded? And,
Yeah, I think I did get that.
you
I
know,
looked in there.
basically, just from the Shenandoah's out, there's, basically 95% of it is from city.
The city, right.
And very small percentages from the county, same way in Corinda is very similar. There's a tremendous amount of funding that goes on from outside of that too, between foundations and different things. So that's the one thing you have to, I won't disagree. I wouldn't know where Shenandoah would be without our library.
I think they're just earning part of it, so we didn't have the,
Yeah.
I normally voted in the courthouse, and because of COVID, we didn't open the courthouse, but they opened the library for us, so
Yeah.
they did do something there, it just meant something, they're earning some of the money they're getting, I think.
They are fantastic.
Yeah, they're great citizens. I guess the overall question that we need to ask our librarians is and maybe we kind of did this when they presented, but with the dollars, what do you do? I mean, to me, they've been magicians with providing the service that they have and are able to provide. So what's the next step and next goal on their part? And then it goes back to, I mean, you can't have this discussion without being honest about the transfer of responsibility from county to city with regard to emergency communications. We used to have a lot of extra dollars that the cities now have additional dollars to fund the library, because we have no 28E really. Well, we have 28E, I misstated, but we're not collecting any money from the cities for emergency services. So, and that was a big chunk of change, to say the least. I think the county's responsibility before we took it over was $60,000 a year, and you can look at the budget and what it costs us to do today. So the thought process, right or wrong, is can we have a good partnership with our cities, to have them step up a little taller with the libraries and, help us. I'd like to be above the minimum, but I don't know what the right number is.
Well, some of this, I'm looking down here, I'm not just trying to figure these lines out. The capital projects for the county, what is that? Is that, and then the annex buildings down here, 55,000. What are the windows for? What building's that?
In the courthouse.
Courthouse, okay.
And I don't know, is that an accurate number? That number may not be accurate.
I'm sorry, what?
On the window replacement in the
Well, that
courthouse.
was to do a small portion of them last year, and so since we didn't do that, I think last year the conversation was that we would start with the windows, like in Brenda's office, and some of those other ones that really need to be changed. And then, that wasn't just probably gonna be a 1-year situation, that was gonna be multiple years to get through all the windows here in the courthouse, but, because they are all.
So the capital projects would be another, something like that.
Something like, or the carpet that came out of the capital project, this was recarpeted a year or so ago. At some point.
Is there
we're
a
gonna have
fund
roll-
balance on any of that, are we running a,
Yep, so we have, spent down some of that, but right now with everything, which you're gonna have a large flex come back into, because, right now it's over 200,000 at the end of this with everything in here, but you're actually gonna probably end up with, I would say, over 300 because, the annex we had budgeted for, I think, 200,000 out of local option, we're not gonna come anywhere near that because the plan shifted for that. And I think we've spent right around 55,000. So, there was over I think right around 200 or 205. I don't have that. It's either 200 or 205. I'll have to look for that.
I think I've got that.
55,000 right there?
Detail here.
But during the amendment, I didn't put that into as a re-estimate on that, just because if it does have a new heating and air conditioning, but if anything would die over there, it would still need to be replaced this year, so. Is that the right word, die?
Probably not.
Let's see.
Well, those are some of the biggest numbers on here, so I'm looking at the big numbers.
$50,490 is what we spent on the annex.
And there's a few other expenses that stand out over there. But it'll be less than a total of 5,000.
So we're just able to break it up, we can put 37 in community betterment, and we can put 55 and 19 in infrastructure. All those capital things can just be split up there.
Right. Yes, yes. Where did the West Central dues come out of? I know the SWIPCO comes out of here. Okay. Okay, I just curious, you know. And the SWIPCO dues, is that also the Southwest Iowa Housing Trust Fund? Is that 3731 up there, or is that just actual SWIPCO dues? Okay, gotcha. And I just wonder if that would be something that would be, because we must pay that out of 99 also. Okay. Okay.
The other thing that I know it's kind of uncomfortable to talk about, but the Page County Fair contribution, $16,500,
Mhm.
is if there was another project this year, given the fact they just got a $60,000 grant they weren't expecting, is this an area where we might disperse that money differently? I'm just asking the question.
I don't know. I don't know where they're financially at.
And we haven't heard from them.
Yeah, because I know their dollars,
Huh? Have you
Sorry, I
heard
think I
from them?
died. There we go. Now I'm back up. Sorry. Yeah, I have talked to them and made them aware.
Yeah.
So, and I've sent them all the information. So they actually can use that money on something separate if they choose. So I think they already had projects that they were going to do with all the different funding they were gonna receive. So I think they were gonna look at potentially doing another project then this year.
I would think their loss of revenue last year, that dollars will help them stabilize their
Okay,
budget to
that's
where
fine. No,
I guess, I think that's pretty minimal for what they do for the county.
oh, I'm not
Yeah,
arguing that.
I don't know.
I
know, I,
Somebody asked me that
Yeah,
question, well, if they're
yeah.
getting 60, does the
Mhm.
county still supplement them like at the same level? And so I
I,
don't know.
after what happened to the fair last year, I don't know how they did, but it couldn't have been good. Their budget would have had to have really suffered for the lack of activities and the community, so.
So are there any other thoughts? You know, let's, going back to the daycare, we kind of cut them out a year ago, over a 2-year period. They've had issues. Is this a time that we should consider making a contribution to the daycare side?
And that's what I was kind of wondering, is if this is somewhere that if we have some extra dollars, this may be a year that we might want to, because I know daycares have really struggled. But I'm not sure if they have or not. I don't know. It seems like they're pretty busy. I don't know. What do you hear? Melissa, anything on daycares? I just
I haven't
have,
heard
you know,
anything. I would, I mean, I would think on some of it. I know,
There was-
they've had to shut down at different points and stuff, but I
Yeah.
would think they
They
would have
probably-
gotten some
yeah,
care money
I was
to
gonna
that.
say, and they may have done better because some people may have had to have used daycares more.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know, I haven't heard anything, one way or the other, so. Because last year we did give to them, correct?
No, we did not.
Okay, not
2 years ago, we halved it, and last
Okay,
year we
that's right,
eliminated it.
that's right. They have not come to us, so,
But in the spirit of what COVID has done to our community,
Yeah.
that'd be the only question I would have.
oh, there's a trust fund, I see it down here. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, this
Yeah.
would go. How's
Yeah,
it?
I looked through those all twice and I didn't see it the first time. So,
The community project, what do we use that for? Refresh my memory.
$1,000, 5 of 5 years.
That would be for the whole garage.
Was that the sidewalk? Was that the sidewalk?
No, that's city.
Well, no, we did something at the parks, or we did something at Page. We did a project out there, I remember John talking about a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we have the end of the 5-year commitment is what that would represent. Okay.
So at the end of this year, all the, like our capital improvements, those are things like the windows don't get done. Does that just build into a fund for the next year, if it's bigger and bigger?
Local action is a restricted fund, so all the money that sits in here goes back in here. So if you don't use it, so like when we budget, if we don't use it for a specific project, it's not like it flows to any other. By code, it's restricted back to this local option. So then it just reaccumulates back in here and then it just bumps up that fund balance. And then you could choose to either reallocate the next year for, if a project doesn't get completed this year that needs to be, you can either reallocate and then amend for next year, or you can choose to spend it on something different then, or else you can choose to kind of, if you're working on a larger project, you can always hold some of that back and then use that for a large project then down the road.
Like, if I have it up right, at 150,000 right now on the different, added together for capital projects for the county of this total.
The main thing is like when you look at the ballot language, you do have to make sure that you're still hitting that 40-40-20 split.
Right.
So like for your capital improvements, like the infrastructure and those types of things, you do have to make sure that if you don't hit something on there, that you're reusing that for that specific type of purpose.
I guess in the capital category, do we have a big savings right now? I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out. Do we have a pretty big savings in any one of them, in the tax relief or the, are we spending that every year or is there some left?
We do, like this year, if we end up not doing the windows, we'll roll that 30,000 back in, and then as well, the building project.
The 90,000 transfer, just rural basic, that's your property tax, just basic property tax relief for rural residents, right? Is that not?
Yeah, so you do
Just
one
help
for
them.
general basic, and then you do one for rural as well, and your general basic is larger than your rural one there.
I see, okay. So that's direct, just direct to the,
And basically, the part about that I think the board has done that is because that goes countywide. And so like whenever you're
Yeah.
decreasing your levy countywide, that impacts everybody. When you're
Everybody.
decreasing it rural, it impacts
Only
all
part.
on
Yeah.
the rural levy. So,
okay. Then,
yeah, so this year, we designated 200,000 under that total infrastructure take up for the annex.
Okay.
So the amount we do not use on that, then we'll just stay in there, and then we'll try to then, and it's like, you can even hold that, like if you're looking at a large capital project for the infrastructure side, so you could put that and kind of hold that, like if you're thinking about a jail project or something like that to use.
Could the, any jail study be funded with those dollars?
I would have to check that, but I believe it would be open for like a capital project.
Okay.
the other two categories, though, do we pretty much spend that every year, what we allocate? The one in the community betterment and one in tax relief? We just, those are spent against that budget item on the whole thing.
I mean, we have, and that's not, this year you would, as you can see, you've got those capital projects under both this year. So that would be more helpful for like your jailer, if you have a study, you need to do those types of things.
When will the historical preservation of records, is that still a go to do some more for next year?
If you guys choose
Yes,
to
yeah.
budget for it, yes.
And will that still be in the recorders, or will that be into the,
So with this amount, we're hoping we can get a bulk of Brenda's. Brenda and I talked last week, and I think it would be, like on her side, like we would like to get the minutes and those types of things, you know, the older minutes done. But from the perspective of really what would our constituents would probably use more initially up front, we feel like her side of things
yeah,
is more important
I
right
agree,
now,
I
so.
agree.
And you'll know more tomorrow after they come. I mean,
Yeah,
we'll get more
Okay,
detail
sure.
on
so.
how much
Right.
work they would be able to do for that.
And a
amount
lot of
money.
those older books are, you know, we have microfilmed them before, we used to have them bound, you know, rebound and things like that. But they still are showing a significant amount of wear and use, whereas this now, they be digital. So, and then it's nice to, like, you guys will have to stop down and see the, you know, the indexes and things like that that we've done. And then on our side, our transfer books and stuff. But the nice thing about that too is when they have now completed that project, they brought us all of those, and then we can put those in a safety deposit box. So we'll have those now forever. So it's not like, so if at some point in 10 years we decide no longer to do business with this company, we don't lose all of those images and everything we paid for. We still
We own them
physically
at
get
that
the
point.
images.
Okay.
So,
Correct. Okay.
Well, maybe by Wednesday or Thursday after you and Brenda get a chance. Are you going to be in the meetings or, of course, we'll meet here tomorrow much of the day.
yeah, Anne is actually in my office going to attend. So
She's
she's
good.
been heavily
Okay.
involved in the project and
Okay.
she's really been excited about it and ran with it. So she's going to be there for it, so.
Well, I think basically we can probably go ahead and move to approve this, and this would be one that may have some clarifications before going to print on, you know, there may be some changes or there may be some interest, Jacob, that you may get from somebody on some of these items that needs to be added in, or Chuck, or, you know, who knows? You know, daycares may end up being an issue. I think I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and move forward with this and make a motion to approve this. And then we can have further discussion if something else pops up where we need to make some relative changes.
Okay, we have a motion. You want a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, and, for example, I think tomorrow we're gonna hear from Clarendon
Right,
Economic Development.
right. And that may,
And there will be a
Yeah.
parade of others that,
Yes.
potentially
Yeah.
will be here.
yeah, so.
Okay, sounds reasonable. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And on that course, you know, it's been kind of nice to see Corinda and Shenandoah working together on some things, so who knows? We may feel the need to support them differently, so.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll shut up.
Special law enforcement. Special law enforcement.
The next one down.
Yep. So, pretty straightforward.
What exactly, that is only, we haven't used it in ages. Is that what,
We usually typically every year do budget in case it's needed.
what would be an example of that? Do you know? Have we ever had it?
I believe like if there's, which don't fall into my hands, but check, but a while, but like, I think in the past it's been like if there's.
A lawsuit against? No?
Like,
It's been like a drug investigation.
Okay.
drug buys or anything like that.
Okay.
If the
Okay.
Southwest Iowa Drug Task Force
Okay.
uses our.
Kind of
resources.
maybe back whenever they had that huge raid in Shenandoah a few years, 15 years ago, something like that might have had some cost.
I believe. And there may be other intricacies that
Yeah.
could come into play, but that's the one I remember.
And then there is grants available, so I guess that makes sense, yeah. Okay. Well,
But we haven't gotten the grant.
no.
I don't know that we could ask Lyle tomorrow. That may be a casualty of, what's happened to a lot of grants. But we've not received a grant in several years. But we haven't used the fund in several years either.
So, yeah.
So let me ask you this, Melissa, from an accounting standpoint, here's an example of something that we may or may not use. How difficult is it to not even include it, and if it happens, fund it?
Well, then you have to go through the full amendment process, so,
More of a
you
pain.
could choose to do,
So on the standpoint of if you would choose not to budget for it, then because it's a separate fund, then in order to use it, you'd have to amend to use it first. So you didn't exceed before you had it in there. So, I mean, that takes a couple weeks to go through that process. You also pay for publication then. So, you know, our amendment publication runs, at least, gosh, I have a look at the last one, I think it's $600 or $700.
I know that's expensive, but there's
So-
nothing in the sheriff's current budget that would qualify for this expenditure if it,
Typically, it's kind of one of those things, which is kind of one of those things that's always been done, so I can't say, but it's usually in the past just been budgeted in case they need it. It is a restricted fund, so it's not like they can use this money for anything frivolous or anything that's not specifically for this, because it is that restricted fund. So it is, then you're just budgeting in case that they do.
Because if we included it into the budget, then it could be used for, if it was a part of his budget, it could become an issue of getting spent for something that didn't.
Okay, all right, makes sense.
So,
If that makes, because if you look, it's under the 15,000, so it's a totally separate fund than what you're getting for that.
okay.
Have a motion to approve that then?
All motion to approve that.
Second,
Okay, motion by Holmes, second by Armstrong, all in favor say aye.
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 Special investigation, which is kind of a dovetail. If, another authority asked for support from our sheriff on any intel or investigation, this is what this fund would be used for. We have used it a little bit over the years, but, similar circumstances, I'm sure it's restricted, so keeping it there makes some sense. Any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve that budget item.
All motion to approve it.
Second,
Okay. Motion and second has been made. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Court-ordered services. So Melissa, why don't you give us,
How far down in the book?
well, it's miscellaneous court-ordered service, that next one.
Oh, there it is, I see it. Sorry. Yeah, this one's a little more complicated.
I think you was kind of late on this, but you kind of asked the same question. All these things with investigations, the sheriff's budget, just like, why is that not part of his budget?
Well, that's what I think.
Kind of asked that too.
The short answer is if it's in his budget, it's not restricted, so
Oh,
that
okay. It's better.
if they need more bullets, they can just pull it from,
Yeah.
over
I
there.
see.
Yeah, or if they needed a new bumper, you know, and
So we need to take that into account when we're looking at his budget. We gave him some money here for some other things, or how's that work? It's kind of
Well,
separate.
Yeah, it's just, it's kind of separated because of the restriction on the funds and
It's for
an easy way to keep
specific-
it clean, I guess.
yeah, it's for specific things that would be considered very abstract, of ever needing to be used, but it's there just in case.
Something's
So it
coming up.
doesn't have to come out and, as Melissa said, make an amendment, which is more expensive to do than.
Yeah,
having it as a
$2,500 would cost $600 or $700 for publication's a waste. It'd be a bad
Yes,
deal.
yeah. So,
We just understand
And I
that.
guess the only, you know, trying to avoid the expensive and time expensive an amendment, but I suppose you could make a case to try to determine what the real number average would be, so that your bottom line budget looks better.
Mhm.
But that would be guesswork, and of course,
No.
this really is guesswork too. I mean, if you got two, you know, if we got a flurry of investigation requests, then we might blow through that.
yeah.
It wouldn't be gone, yeah.
So, I don't know, I guess then philosophically, you have to ask, do you wanna, you know, take the chance? I mean, some of these have been used. Well, this one that we're talking about, the court order is a different animal, but like on the investigation on special law enforcement, they haven't been used in several years. If you wanted to take that $5,000 off the bottom line and the risk of, you know, if we have a need, then we're gonna have a budget amendment that will cost us $600 or $700 to publish in some time.
But that money, if it's not spent, it's just
It,
not gone.
no,
Yeah, it's not
No,
gone.
It
no.
comes back in the pile at the end.
yes, yes.
Yeah, and it can only go back in that specific fund.
So that fund getting pretty,
No, the balance
This is what you see every year, I just,
Roll
so
that.
like the fund balance on,
paper here. It should be getting big, shouldn't it, every
the
year?
fund balance on special investigations on 15,000 is, it zeroes out this year. So like if he used everything, it would be zero. And then on the special, on 14,000, it would be $2,957.
So
So
I don't see that on there. So the,
pretty small balances.
we're budgeting 2,500, right? For this
Right.
one. And every year it's not used, it just stays in there and gets bigger and bigger.
No,
No,
It goes back to the general.
No, it's a restricted fund,
So
so
it's
it stays in there. So if you don't use it, then it's gonna just keep that balance in as.
Oh, the same balance. So we don't have to even fund it then. Are we giving it money if they're not spending it? That's what I'm lost on here.
Well, you've already funded it in the past, so like you can't, by code, like because it's a restricted fund, it's not like unless you were, it's not like you could take this money right now and say, we're gonna throw this back in the general fund, because it's a restricted
So
fund.
are we not even adding money this year then?
No, you're not adding anything.
Okay, we're just leaving the money sitting
You're
there.
just leaving
Yes,
it, and then you're
yes.
just basically saying
Yeah.
if they need it, they can spend it, if not, it just stays there.
It just stays there.
Yep, so
Okay.
at some point, years ago, they decided to put X amount of dollars in funding.
Okay, so it's just,
Which has always been adequate.
Mhm.
Okay.
so it's really not costing our budget really anything if the money's already there. Unless we want to take that little bit of money. Okay, that makes sense now.
Okay, so on, miscellaneous, are you guys ready for this?
Yep,
Okay.
miscellaneous, yep.
So I did have an error on this. If for some reason that 73,000 didn't update, it should be 79,775. So if you guys just want to change that,
79,
775.
Okay.
What's this now?
Anything else change in there?
Nope, it's, the other one is fine.
So
It's,
what's the total then? We calculated total?
um, Oh, I don't have a 10 key up here. I'm gonna have to bring that. $82,754,
54.
Okay, thank you.
which I should have been.
What's 82?
Now, why did it go up?
So actually, this is something that juvenile court services sent
Tell,
us,
tell
and I
us.
had just entered it wrong, so that's my fault. So
Okay,
once I saw that, I thought, oh, that number's the same as last year, that's not right, so.
okay. And then what are the expenses? And like last year, this year, we've only spent 13, the year before 13,000. What do they do that helps keep the expenses so low? Why is it, when they project what it could be, why have we been so lucky to only have had such small expenses over the years?
I would have to double check on that. This is one of those budgets that comes into us.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just kind of curious. This is part of the juvenile shelter care. Okay, okay, that's what it's for, okay.
So, yep, if anybody's placed in sheltered care, then they.
So that would be, must not be done very often then for youth.
So I wonder how they do come up with that larger number.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
curious.
Because in the past, if they've had anybody placed in sometimes in different facilities charge different amounts.
Mhm.
So I think in the past, it might have fallen off. One year, we did have someone placed in a more expensive facility, and then if you don't budget,
Yeah,
it's kind of,
Is this the line item that pays for juvenile detention? It's not, is it?
no, I don't believe so.
Because I know that's extremely
Yeah,
expensive.
yeah.
let me double check here. I don't want to tell you wrong. Oh my God, let me type the right number.
Now juvenile court services is down.
Yeah.
below.
Yeah, I see juvenile
Yeah.
green tab by Richmond.
Yeah, and that one we pretty well spend all the money.
Right. Those people have been adjudicated
So
here.
these would be different expenses,
Right.
like if there's placements in Clarinda Academy, there's some different organizations, that we place for shelter.
It'd be similar to the Doves in a different area, but only for kids. They'd be.
So
placed up
basically,
in
every year
council
we
bluffs.
ask the
Yeah.
juvenile detention, it gets them to Jane Wilson.
Right.
She sends us back
Yeah.
with
Okay.
her estimates of where she thinks things are gonna be at,
Mhm.
so,
Okay,
We've just been very lucky not to have to use that, so.
yeah.
Okay.
So is that the same situation? The only money we have to put back in is the money we spend? Just extra.
Yep, so this is one that this is in general supplemental, so once again, if that money isn't used, in like her case, she only uses it for these specific things, so like say we budget for $20,000, and at the end of the year, there's only $5,000 worth of claims, that just goes back into our general supplemental. And then that fund is also restricted for different things by the code, so it's not like you can go out then but, you know, your general fund is your only non-restricted fund. So,
any other questions?
Mhm.
If not, would like a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the court-ordered services budget.
I'll second it.
Okay, Armstrong with a motion, Holmes with a second, all in favor say aye. Aye.
All right.
Did you vote affirmative?
Yes, I'm sorry.
So,
Yes.
all right, motion carries. General relief.
Yep.
So, kind of, if you would, Melissa, go through what we're budgeting here, please.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Oh, if you would, just kind of go through what we're budgeting here.
Okay, I sure can. Yeah. So under general relief, oh, right underneath me, there we go. Okay, so on general relief, this is the one that we have now set up with, we actually have agreed upon services now. This is the one we work with Linda Ash directly on.
Okay.
But basically we pay, is it West Central? Through West?
Yes, West Central Development.
And we pay them $5,000 and then they assist us with this process. But basically, we work directly with Linda Ash here. She does a phenomenal job. You know, years ago, we used to pay someone directly here at the county to facilitate this. And now with her services, she's tied in with multiple different agencies. And so when a lot of individuals come with her for relief, she really is able to look at kind of their needs. And then with having so many different services she works through, she really tries to then use the best services she can and kind of tries to utilize the general relief as, you know, kind of as a last resort if she needs to. So as you can see, we always budget for her to be able to provide different things if needed, but a lot of times she's able to exhaust the food bank, she's able to exhaust, there's some different veterans programs. I know Janet tries to assist with some of those with the veterans. But, you know, with the gas and electric, those types of things, there's other programs now that she always tries to exhaust. So really, since we have switched to utilizing this, it's really been a huge advantage to the county and a real cost savings overall.
For instance, Jacob, she is in charge of West Central office here in Shenandoah, and which they work with lighting programs. Wendy Mueller talked last week. So she works with all those programs and is able to utilize a lot of the dollars that are available through so many other programs before having to ever get to the county. And I just have been in touch with the VA the other day, and there's many of those things, those two have now worked together and takes care of a lot of the veterans' needs in Page County. So it never has to come back to this, so this is a nice little reserve fund that just hasn't had to be touched much over the years because she's done such a great job of working all the pieces in the right order. So it's nice to have that available when we need it, as we can see, we haven't had to use too much over the years. So,
I'm managing it pretty good.
yeah, she's remarkable.
Does she have any services that Lyle could utilize to take some
On
stress?
the second page of this, under chemical dependency, transportation to meals, I think that's something we can mention to Lyle, that he needs to work with her, he probably should, tomorrow, just in case. I don't know how, that would probably have to be somebody that qualifies under West Central's program to get the help to the sheriff, but he should probably talk to Linda and make sure he's utilizing everything. Yeah. It doesn't look like anything's been used in the last 4 years, so it's something he should probably, we can remind him of. Not forget she's there, he can.
Right, there might be something he could utilize.
You know, if he can save a couple $1,000 here and there, he should, so.
Okay? Any other questions on general relief? If not, let's have a motion, please.
I'll motion to approve the budget.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. To human services we go. And, does Linda get involved in this as well? Okay.
I'll find that, hold on. I'm gonna find it here.
Oh, it was next one.
Right there,
Yep, yep.
secondary roads, looks like the next one.
Oh,
Maybe it's hiding in there.
right above secondary roads.
Ah,
You don't have it?
I might here, that's just, yeah, right here, just now tab, okay, I'm good.
Also over general welfare, Melissa.
Is your mic going on? Sorry.
Now I'm on.
You're on now?
Yep, I'm on. Is we receive more for that than we spend, which is good.
This is actually what we sent out.
Pardon, what's that?
This is when we actually send out and then we put everything back.
Okay, who do you send it to?
DHS?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So this would be the office that's over in Shenandoah that utilizes that space, okay?
Yep, so Madison actually completes this budget for us and sends it back based on what he feels, the needs will be there.
Mhm.
And then we also do get that revenue side from it. So he kind of just goes through, and I think he left, yeah, all the
Everything
expenses
pretty
the
much
same
the
this year.
same. So these are the costs of the building for them over in Shenandoah,
Yep,
okay?
so, and then we do get that DHS admin reimbursement,
Mhm.
so.
Do they have any, interest in space here in our annex upstairs, do you know?
I do not know, I've never talked to him. about
Okay.
that.
I'm sure they would if we ever decide to sell that building over there. You know, I'm sure they would, but
But I mean, as an adjunct, because they used to have a presence in Clarinda,
I am not certain on that.
not through the county, I don't think, but,
I don't know.
okay, I'll, reach out to Tom and ask him. You know, you don't want to lose the revenue. in
No,
Shenandoah.
no.
Any other questions on this? If not, then, would like a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the human services budget.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have motion second, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, excellent. Well, we're about halfway through the morning. Integrated roadside management, where do we find that?
A week? Oh, great.
We,
That makes sense. Okay.
got it, all right, so,
So this is just basically if we have any weed eradication that needs to be taken care of. I don't think the budget has flexed. The only thing that flexed was, we do a small transfer to secondary roads for this. And it's just a portion of the salary.
Who carries this out? Who is the weed person?
well, does Levi do it now? I'm not sure, that's a great question, I don't know.
I talked to JD the other day, and this is something I talked to other people about, I just wondered, this might fall in this, or maybe his other budget. All these gravel roads and dirt roads that have grass are such a problem. When you make giant balls, and all the gravel goes with it, and all the dirt goes with it, and you have a ditch run between the pile of dirt and the road. I don't know if anybody else does this, but it makes sense, if we have a pickup, I think, with a spray tank in the back of it. If you'd go once or twice a year, just with simple roundup, a roundup and 2,4-D, and go 10 mile an hour, drive real slow, and just go on the low traveled roads.
Right.
It would kill all that, and it would never be this giant pile of grass. At 10 mile an hour, you cover a lot of miles on a day. So, a couple passes, I asked him about that. And never really, I don't know if he thought about that way, but I don't know if that would apply to this, or if that comes through his other
You know,
budget.
that's a discussion that I wanted to have with him too, because since Rick Daly left us, we've really been a lot less focused on weeds, and,
Well, that might save a ton of gravel, and a ton of just the integrity of the road, because when you put that great big pile and the water runs down the road, it doesn't go to the ditch.
Right.
I don't know, I think he acts like they didn't necessarily have a specific person, but I don't know.
They've got somebody that's licensed that can spray, but they
Spray.
haven't, when it's a particular, thistles, they've gone out and
Trees,
done.
brush, that's-
Right, but they don't have anybody that's on a regular basis doing that. We used to, a little bit of history, and I'm bad with times, but we used to have somebody in the county that just did that completely. They worked half years. Gene Belknap did it for years. I think Tom Barrier may have helped for a little bit after that. Go back 15, 20 years ago, we had somebody that's what they did is we had a actual person that was in charge of that,
Not-
away from the secondary roads guys. So they didn't have to stop running a blade or a tractor or a gravel truck to go take care of an issue. And I personally like the idea of reworking that into the budget at some point in time, getting somebody that is maybe somebody that's a retired person that can be trained and take that pickup out and drive around, and even the cuckleburs, the thistles, the different things that are real pain in the butt in the ditch. And just be focused on that instead of being a driver,
right.
so to speak.
Well, I mentioned this to JD the other day, and I don't know if it's the right time, but, in looking at our safety director,
Can he,
can he become
Yes.
our weed guy?
Yeah.
And supplement part of that salary,
Right.
number one. Number two, have somebody dedicated, because I think that's the
Yeah.
problem right now. We don't have anybody with a passion, and it's not a main focus.
Well, the thistles and that, they get going crazy, and that's like, I don't know if what I'm saying about the road is, they're not noxious weeds, it's just more of a
the
road
grass,
problem.
yeah.
Right.
But it does affect that, but yeah,
I don't know, that's, I
Yeah.
think we can talk to JD during that,
Yeah.
his session, and
Yeah, because even if Tom were to dedicate 20% or 30% of his time, and and he could still be available to do safety things and everything else, it would really, yeah, it would really be, and training, I think Tom could be trained to do that. Getting a license to spray is not hard to do.
I think he's had some training, if
yeah.
I understood you.
And I would assume that would really fit into his safety issues anyway, so I think.
All the training is safety.
Yeah.
I've been trained too, so
Yeah.
it's all about safety.
Yeah,
Chemical.
So I don't know, that's something that maybe we
Yeah.
can pursue with JD as
Yeah.
it relates to.
And we can talk to Tom on too during the safety budget part, so I think it's a great idea.
Okay,
So, needless to say, we haven't spent hardly any money on this. And the main reason is Randy left in the year 18. Ricky left, Ricky left in 18. So that's why you can see the general reduction, because we were paying a percentage of his salary as secondary roads director to also be the weed eradicator. And so we can see why that has dropped off immensely.
yeah, and I don't think this is a budget you want to have a surplus left, I think
No.
you need.
You're transferring money to secondary roads.
Right, yeah. So,
Potentially you're not.
yeah.
Like, I don't know, you're giving more money to
Mhm.
secondary roads
Yeah.
for a specific purpose.
Right,
Because they're
yeah.
not fulfilling entirely.
I guess my thoughts are, I'd make a motion that we support this budget worksheet, but that we also put a commitment to try to find a way to enhance the weed eradication issue and get it done into the budget for the new year, whichever department we put it into. So I'd make a motion to approve this as it's written, but with changes forthcoming, so to speak.
I'm okay with that. I'm just, all this is new to me.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we just write that in and then approve it? I don't know how to, is it just kind of double do it? Or like we approve this with that, which I think is a good idea. Why would we just wait till it's redone and
And-
approve it? Is there,
Yeah, we can do.
We
that.
right or wrong,
We can
we
table,
can.
we can table that
Yeah,
part.
yeah, we could table this particular one.
all these things I keep approving, we're gonna come
Yeah.
back to, it confuses me.
What's that? Melissa, you said something?
Is there right or wrong, right?
Okay, so if no second, we can come back and just table this until we have discussion with secondary roads and safety.
I think that's fair.
Okay?
Okay. County Farm.
All right.
Next one.
So, I guess, just to be clear.
We're going to table the integrated roadside.
You don't want to-
No motion. I'll rescind my motion.
Hold on.
Okay?
Some of the things that,
This budget until what?
Until later.
Till we've had discussions with secondary roads and safety.
Yeah. Yeah.
some of the other things, like we've done this, that we've put through, but we're gonna look at again, this kind of same situation, we're gonna have to re-go
Yeah,
over.
we'll have to hone all of these.
Mhm.
This is a lot of new here.
Sure, well, and
Believe me, Jacob, that first year I did it, I just kind of listened, and second year,
Yeah,
it just gets easier, so. And there is, with government, it's not black and white. It's just a whole different world than everything else.
in private business.
Yeah.
All right, County Farm, are we ready?
There's a budget within the motion has to table the budget until discussions from secondary roads and safety.
Okay.
Does that sound okay?
Yep.
Sounds great.
County Farm?
Yep.
County Farm, okay, what, Chad Masher won our bid to clean up trees to push the house in. He's gonna have that done by June. I know one of, John's goals was to, clean it up further, but the reality is when Chad is done, we'll have a hole filled with debris that probably needs to get hauled off. So other than that, I don't know of any other goals that anybody has for the county farm in terms of, you know, any improvements. That reminds me, I need still to reach out to
Yeah,
Justin.
about his spray.
Yep.
Yeah.
This final year of that lease, correct, coming up on the general, on the county farm lease? Is this the third year of our lease?
No, I will next year.
Yeah, this is our second.
Okay,
Next year.
okay. For 22, July, is this the third farming year coming up in 21? I think for Justin, maybe not. Second?
Second.
Oh,
Second.
okay.
So
So,
expenditures,
So I did increase this, I thought with all the work,
mhm,
potentially, I was thinking the 8,000 was gonna cover it anyways.
mhm,
So I did increase this, I don't know if that's enough or too much, I kind of just,
mhm.
I didn't know if after, like you said, there was gonna be additional, or if we were gonna run into any snags. I know that
Mhm. Sure.
there was some water, potentially some issues John mentioned at one time, so I thought just to make sure that we had. And this is one of those budgets that, like, too, if it doesn't get used, it's not like anybody else touches this money, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's not like in a department where somebody else needs it, they can use it. It's a,
What was Masher's bid? Was it 2,500 or something like that, 2,700?
it was very inexpensive,
Yeah.
Somewhere in that ballpark, I don't
Yeah.
remember, somewhere in that ballpark.
and so that could come down to,
Mhm.
I couldn't remember fully what all, if there was a next phase, so. I know at one time John had worried there wasn't gonna be enough,
Right, sure.
so I wanted to make sure there was.
It should come out of this year's budget.
Oh,
It
not
should be
even,
done.
not even about
Yeah.
next year, so this
It
is
should
for
be.
just whatever's
Right.
left, okay.
And this might be, I think John was also thinking if we have to spend a little bit of money to get that ready to re-add into the mix of usable acres, because there might be some work we have to do to prepare that if we need to, correct?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, John was all over, he had a vision much clearer than mine on the county farm.
Right,
So the only thing I'm really aware of, yeah, I think the goal ultimately was to develop a few more tillable acres when we were said and done, but, you know, the big thing was got rid of the bins a year ago. And then we've got this line of trees that is in that
right,
bunch that I think Chad's gonna take care of, and then he's gonna push the house in, so we'll have some debris
right,
to
right.
remove.
Are they gonna dig a hole and push it in the hole and
I
burn
think
it?
it's gonna
or-
put it in the hole.
Yeah.
He didn't wanna burn it, he was afraid of burning it
That
because,
close to everything?
although in talking with, fire chief, he
Yeah.
thought that we could safely burn it, but Chad was a little afraid of it. And that's in large part why that bid was so much cheaper than some of the others.
So it is completely up to you guys, I just kind of popped a number in there thinking potentially, but if you think that's too high, it's perfectly,
Well-
I mean, I was just rough estimating, I couldn't remember fully what the full plan
Well,
was.
I don't know, I mean, Chad's will be paid for out of this budget, correct?
Should
It
be.
should,
Should be.
Okay,
Should be.
because I think June 1 was his deadline for having it complete.
okay,
So,
then it should, as long as he gets it in and gets turned in to get paid for
Right,
everything.
right.
okay,
I guess my thoughts are, you know, I'd like to think that we wouldn't need any huge amount for a budget, but whether it's 8,000 or 20,000, I'd much rather have it in the budget just in case what ifs.
right,
What if we find a water line issue or something else out there that's going to, because we know that we're going to have to do things a little bit differently than if I did it at my house. So,
right.
you know, I don't know. I guess I don't have an issue of leaving it as.
I don't either,
I think it'll be-
guesswork.
I think 8,000 would be plenty.
Yeah.
You think 8,000 be
It'd
plenty?
be safe to get to,
Yeah.
dozens about $150 an hour roughly, so. I'd be a lot of hours dozing out there to level it, so. The hauling, that might be expensive, that's everything, you have to haul
That's-
everything off, I
yeah.
don't know what that costs.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably a pretty safe number to finish cleaning up.
So your motion would be to amend that to an 8,000?
And if we don't, we only use a couple, 3,000 of it, then what, that 5,000 just stays in the farm fund or what?
Well, this is all general.
General
This goes
fund.
back in the general.
So and every dime that farm rent that's generated just goes in general.
Yes, yeah,
Yep.
so,
Because it's counted up. Yep.
So Jacob, do you want to leave some money in there for
Jacob,
water
when
line?
these are set up by department like this, so like this is by Department 25, so there's, like, it's not like, the sheriff can turn in against this. So really, when I say like, it's, there's really only, like, unless there's a true farm expense that comes in, that's the only thing that's gonna hit this budget. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Because like, in other people's budgets, like when you have a larger budget, we try to keep everybody to hit those right line items. But like say in one line item, they might go $1,000 over. As long as they go $1,000 under in another line, it washes, just as long as their overall budget's under. But that's when the board talks about like, being careful, so you're not, potentially then different departments could, have a little more money sitting there. Because if they say, oh, I need this, that's $1,000, but then they put in 1,500, that $500, and if you put it in the budget, then they can use, really at the end of the day, for other things if they so choose. So like with this being a one line item and stuff, it's not like, and it's not that anybody else can use it either, so. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So would you like to maybe think about a little more than the $8,000 for the unknown water line? Because I think.
Now, what's the deal? You worried about hitting a water line or running a water line? I'm not.
They've got water lines running into that old house that
Yeah.
are, as I understand.
From a well or from, they have a well?
City
on the farm
water,
or
I
city water?
think. It's city water, I
I
think.
it's city.
Huh?
I think it's
Yeah,
city.
and I think there was some concern about
If you hit it.
hitting that, and it connected weird, I think. I mean, it was added on to,
Are we gonna have water in the future there or not? Is this gonna be in the, is there a hydrant?
good question, I
Are we
don't.
getting from one?
Water in the future? Because if there's no, if you hit it, of course, if it's a city water line, you shut off the water at the road, and then if you hit it, you cap
Yeah, but you're done.
it. It wouldn't be very expensive. I don't know if we're trying to take off from there and run a hydrant somewhere, you'd have some expense on it.
And I don't know, that's
But
a
it
great
would be,
question.
I would feel like that would be.
I don't know, for cattle, does he have water out there?
Is there
I don't think
water? Or not, I don't know.
He's got to,
I don't know if that is a suspension or if it's,
yeah,
Well, I mean, it'd probably be we don't the water lines, but
yeah.
hitting I've hit a lot of water lines. You hit a water line, you just have to
Mhm.
connect it, or end it, or connect it. So, I don't think that'll be a massive expense. If it's all there and you just tear up a short piece of it, unless you gotta redo the whole thing.
Good.
We can sure change that, 8,000 for next year,
Yep.
you want it at 8,
Yeah, I think.
Or
that's-
That's fine.
or, yeah.
you want to make that in the motion?
Yeah, I guess that's fine. My motion, we leave it the way it is, or what do you think, 8,000 for incidentals on the farm, or what, working on them?
Okay.
So is it 8,000 and a
I'll
second?
second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Medical examiner, this is always a crapshoot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Our expenses have trended upward.
okay, so this is one of these local budgets that,
So on medical examiner, this is one of the budgets you don't really have any control over, you just get to pay. So, we do have some phenomenal medical, investigators and examiners that work here in Beach County, and they do a really good job, and, we appreciate everything they do. This year, we've had significantly more autopsies, so, with that continual trend, I did increase the budget just because, it's one of those things that you have to pay for it, so, and I'm not at all, like, it's not like we have any decision-making over that, if that makes sense. when they feel a person needs to go to the state medical standards office, that is totally their call. And I frankly don't want to do that job, so I appreciate everything they do.
Yeah, we appreciate, we've got a couple of newer examiners and, you know, the way they're trained is to, if there's any questions, I'll send to the examiner for an autopsy, but I think they're also strongly prompted to do that. And of course, the skeptics among us believe that, that's to fund the new center that was built, here a couple of years ago.
That's on what?
To fund the new autopsy center, the new, I mean, they built a brand new place that, cost them a ton of dough. And since that point in time, seems like we've had coincidentally more autopsies.
We've also had a change in administration there too.
Yes, yeah.
So,
So, but to your point, our examiners and our, you know, Theo Barley leads the group and our examiners on both sides of the county, all sides of the county do a good job.
And so we don't really have a choice in who.
No, we don't. I mean, the only choice is we could reduce the number and hope that we don't have to amend it.
Just hoping you don't amount at all.
Yeah.
and two, autopsies depend, they conduct based on, circumstances. So, Dr. Barley does a wonderful job of, if he feels that if they need more testing or different testing, he does always try to reach out and let me know, which I appreciate, just because when we get the bills, sometimes it's, they can, depending on additional things they do, it can be more expensive, so, but overall, I mean, I always tell him it's his call, because I have no idea on that stuff, so.
Well, I think they solved the backlog problem that we had 18 months ago. We had
Right.
funeral directors in here pretty upset because they're waiting sometimes 2+ weeks for
Yeah.
family members to be able to schedule a service. And I think they've solved all that.
That has gotten
Yeah.
better, yeah.
And we did in that time period utilized, and I don't know, are we utilizing Nebraska at all anymore?
I think that, I'd have to visit with them, but I think the state wanted all of them to come still up there.
Yeah, there were some issues, if I remember right.
I'll ask Sarah about that.
Yeah, because at one time, the Nebraska cost going to Douglas County was cheaper.
Yeah,
So, and I don't know, we should have some control. I mean, I understand the requirement for the autopsy, but, a medical examiner who's certified in that line of business should suffice if it's less expensive.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the medical examiner's budget.
As presented, 69, okay. Second over here?
Yeah, so we went from 52 to 69, is that right? What we're thinking?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay, I'll second that.
All right, motion made and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. District Court,
Could I make a motion to have a short restroom break?
restroom, yes, how about a 5-minute recess?
Yeah, could we do
yeah,
that?
me too.
Anybody else need to go before me?
I need to go, I need to.
You're gonna use the other one, okay.
All right,
I'm not gonna go down the stairs to that one, that's too far. Oh.
I don't know how to put a slide up, but if you're listening, we're on recess. Oh.
Ooh. I don't know, where's the bathroom up here?
Well, there's one on the other side. You gotta use the code 3219, I think is the code.
now I think I'll drink the Diet Pepsi.
I go quicker. I meant to have that. Thank you letter. I don't have it yet.
Which one? The,
For the foundation, I thought I'd have,
you think that letter should also go to the Holmes family?
well, yeah, but which one, Bob? Is he gone?
Yeah, Bob's gone. I'm trying to think if it came from, because the one at the library we got, the foundation came from the daughter and her husband, Dan, whatever her name is. Jenny Holmes, or Jenny, whatever her last name is now. It came from them. Yeah, Hanson. I'm not sure who got the one at Public Health. I didn't see that. So I don't know which one of if that came from Craig and his wife, or if it came directly from Marilyn, or if it came from the other two. So I'm not
So
sure.
that's what I'm looking at. Let's see. The director, Donna Cush. But yeah, it sent out to Jennifer Holmes Hanson and Dan Hanson. But do you have an address for
I could probably, yes, I do.
them? Okay.
If you want to, yeah, I don't know if I can do it on my phone. I've got an address that's on home, it's on foundation where I got it. So,
What I was thinking, if you guys think it's reasonable,
I'll look and see if I can. I guess my thoughts are the foundation is fine to receive it, but they aren't the ones, they're just a pass-through.
right.
So,
So yeah, we probably ought to send it to Darwin and Dan, or Jennifer and Dan.
yeah. I would think that would be more suitable.
Okay.
I'll look on my phone, see if I can get it. Actual address.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah, I can look this up while we're talking.
Yeah, no hurry, I'll probably type it tonight,
Okay.
get it over to Jess and Lyle, let them sign off on it. Okay, back to budgets here after our recess, and we are ready for district court.
Yep, so this one's pretty simple. If you found it, it's district court. It's for the grand jury services, so every year we fund money. So if we get grand jury, depending on where they live, they can charge mileage. So we always try to figure in that. A lot of times it comes in less, but we always plan in case there's everybody from a long ways away has to come, so.
Okay? Any motion?
I'd make a motion to, accept that as budgeted.
I'll second that. Okay, we have motion and second, $1,200 item for district court. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, to wellness we go.
All right. So the next one is wellness. This is just the standard funding for all of our different wellness incentives and programs that we do each year. So it's just kind of we do different projects and different funding to kind of encourage people throughout the year to participate in our wellness program because we do see a significant amount. We have reached 5% the last several years.
Uh-huh.
And if you flip to the front of your book, that second page,
Right, show the
you can see the insurance
Yeah,
comparison.
yeah.
This year, approximately, it's gonna be over $100,000 cost savings that we're gonna get from all of our discounts and our wellness and everything. So, we do find that that pays for more than itself, and, you know.
What is that money? Who gets that $6,000?
I'm sorry, what?
Who gets the $6,000?
So it's given to a wellness committee, and then it's a committee, with different individuals from different departments on it, and then they choose, they fund different projects throughout the year, but then like, sometimes they give incentives, so like, in the past, we've done, like, to get your wellness, what's the word, the thing we do online with ISAC, the
Training or something, or?
Oh,
assessment.
the assessment, thank you.
So like, we set different dates, and if you complete it by X date, you might receive, for a token of their appreciation, like a $10 gift card to Fairway or something to buy some healthy food with. So, of course, they can't make you buy, but the intention is, you know, to kind of, or like, in the past, years ago, we've done like healthy eating. So I'd be like a fruits and vegetables program. And so then they might give you a gift card to purchase, you know, because for some families, if they're not used to purchasing those, it might be an additional expense. So just some different things like that. They also pay for a blood draw once a year. We do a blood draw here. That's open to all employees, and we do that because there is a cost savings, because we do have different individuals in the county that might have to have a blood draw 2 or 3 times a year. Well, when those hit our insurance, they're more expensive, so then if they do the, like, 1 a year through us, a lot of them then plan, so then it doesn't hit our insurance too, so.
Flu shots are part of that too.
Yep, flu shots, those types of things, so just trying to keep everybody healthy.
Last year, our savings was, I remember, 77,000 some change, so
If we didn't have this, though, it would still be a save, you would possibly still save it just if people do it, or you have to
yeah,
have
if you
it.
could get people to do it.
It's just encouraging them.
Yeah.
Right.
So we
It's
make,
promoting, it's more for our promotion of wellness within the county, so.
What we found, Jacob, was we have a high number of insureds who are on a single package. So the single insureds don't pay any premium.
there's no reason for them to comply.
There's no reason for them to comply. And what we were getting, we had some years that, because of that, we were getting close to not getting the 5%. So it's our way to encourage that. Now, we also did, I mean, it's a choice, they don't have to participate, but if they don't do the assessment and meet the minimum requirements, that's fine. But their premium, if they're single, they will now pay 5%.
So they do have skin in it,
Yeah, they now have skin in it.
which is encouraging for them to do it. Yeah,
But bottom line, you want people to be healthy.
right.
And then this was part of, just for clarification, part of the discussion we had here recently about the landfill. Landfill employees, because of our 2080 agreement, are on our plan. We don't have a way to charge them, but what had happened was there was confusion among the committee about the incentives. So when you get a gift card, well, ISAC gives us some money for that, but we supplement it on the county level. And so we're unable to spend these dollars because they're on the landfill, because they're not employees. It's against the law. So,
Because they sign our insurance through 20E agreement, so.
so anyway, it's been a successful program. On that topic, the committee meets minimum 4 times a year. I've been the supervisor on that committee for the last 3 years. If there's anybody that would like to sit in on wellness, now's your chance. We have a good working committee. So think about it if anybody wants to jump into that. All right, let's go to, do we have a motion on wellness?
I'll make a motion to approve the wellness
I'll second that.
budget.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, to the bonds we go.
All right. This one's pretty straightforward. You really, I mean, I every year look at this bond schedule and then detail out what we owe them. So you could choose not to fund this, but, it would be at the detriment of the county, so. And we do have the landfill side that rolls through Jacob, just so you know, they pay us directly and then we pay the bonding company. And that is so with that 2080 agreement then too, that they get a lower bonding rate because they're affiliated with the county, so.
Any other questions?
What made it go up 5,000?
I'm sorry,
What made it go up 5,000 this year? Just
the debt schedule.
schedule?
Yep. They usually start off a little bit lower and then they kind of increase, and then they'll drop towards the end, so.
Who did those bonds? Do you know, Melissa? That was before your time.
No, the landfill?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
Who did the landfill bonds? Who was that? Do you remember?
I think it was Spear.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it seems like that's who's done all of those.
Any other questions? If not, would like a motion, please.
I'll motion to approve the
I'll second that.
Okay, motion second.
bonds.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, mental health.
All right. This is another one of those budgets that, the region needs. They decide our total tax asking on this. And then basically we facilitate the mental health coordinator salary portion, through the county, that's paid through the county, and then the rest gets sent to the region. So it's basically, we levy the property taxes based on what the region decides, and then keep the portion that goes towards the salary of our employee, and then the rest is pushed out. So there's really not a whole lot of control. I mean, you guys technically could decide not to levy for that, but I think overall, we found that, you know, I think everybody was skeptical at the beginning, but I think the region has really benefited.
Yeah.
I hope, I know some services have been changed and things, and I don't know on the service side, but, so.
Any other question? I'd entertain a motion to,
Just real quick, the disbursements to the MHDS and mental health region, why did it drop so dramatically?
the per capita went down.
Oh, that's,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
gotcha,
that's per
gotcha,
capita.
gotcha,
Yep.
gotcha.
Which had been $25, went to 23,
Okay.
about a
Yep.
$30,000 savings.
Gotcha, okay.
Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the mental health budget.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, motion carries. To the Juvie Court Services we go. Again, this is one we kind of referenced before. We have very, very limited, voice in this one as well.
Yeah.
So who provides you guidance on these numbers?
This would be Jane Wilson too.
Okay. Are we okay with this? Everybody, we get a motion on this particular item?
This is basically something we don't have much control over. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Kind of is what it is.
Yep. Also move.
I'll second.
Okay, Armstrong with the motion, Holmes with the second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, to the drainage. All right, the drainage district. The one that we manage, and we heard about drainage districts here in the last year.
Last couple of years has been a
Yep.
pretty hot topic. Why does it not show any year-to-date expenditures at Johnson? Oh, wait, there it is. I'm sorry. It was in 1819. I didn't realize it was that far back. Okay.
Oh, was it that far back?
Yeah, 1819 is when we did the cleanup last time. And we'll probably,
Need some money?
I wouldn't doubt in the next year, we possibly, if we get a lot of rain, it could be some possibles again, because there's some trees I noticed that are starting to get some wear on that ditch there on, the, right there next to Summit. It's, where the Johnson Run straightens out there. Not very pretty. And then we've still got some work to do out,
With Fremont County?
yeah, with Fremont County. So I don't think, from what our rough estimates are, I don't think we want to change anything too much, because we're not sure when that's going to happen yet.
Okay.
That $8,000 is a derivative of the people living along, landowners along that drainage district, and it's 25 cents or something.
Yeah, and it's designed to even go back off of the landowners next to it, because for instance, on the other side of Nishna Road on the south side, those people are taxed a little bit. It's kind of amazing how that was all set up back almost 100 years ago, over the last 100 years. But it goes into, what is that, probably about 1.5 miles out toward the river, maybe even close to almost 2 miles there. There's one crossing that's on the Fremont side that has had a lot of wear over the years. And JD met with the Fremont County Board. We looked at it last year. It's in the works. We've got one farmer that uses both sections of the field. He can safely get to both sides other ways and only has to use that for a pickup crossing. So we haven't pushed it. We've been waiting for Fremont County to get their work done after the flooding. So, which was a miracle. That particular section did not have any impact from the flooding. It never got damaged anymore. That was all previous damage. So, but it looks like it's going to be in the area of a $30,000 to $40,000 repair, but we just don't know when that's going to actually. So we just leave have left a normal 8,000 just to take care of tree maintenance and everything else from, I guess it would be about Elm Street over to basically the highway.
So have a motion on this $8,000 request.
Also move.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Page County Annex Building. So what basically are you trying to budget over here, Melissa? This is kind of a new item for us.
Yeah, we started this last year. And so basically what we're kind of doing is if there's any, like of course water we have to pay for, and then utilities. And as you can see, our utilities run a little bit higher, and this is still kind of probably gonna flex again next year, just because we didn't get in there until, well, some departments got in there in October, some by November-ish. So without having a true year to look at, this potentially could change, but just kind of, supplies, if anything, we need, something, lights, any sort of major supplies and then maintenance, if there's anything that goes wrong, we just wanted to budget, that 5,000 just in case. And then lawn care and snow removal, we will probably have to, look at that this year, just, especially with some of these larger snows that, it's going to be hard for Gene to really be able to facilitate all of this. So I felt like we should probably leave that in the budget. Initially, we set that up and we're kind of using this year as a test run to kind of see. But, you know, with having one maintenance person, it does sometimes get hard to hit all the facilities as fast.
Right.
And then, of course, we wanted extermination services in there because if we run into, we typically keep pest control under control, so nobody likes that.
So what, like, we still have some parking signs that need to be placed over, would that come out of number 10, or would that come out of?
So typically, right now, we've been using more of the annex at local option as our startup,
Okay,
just to kind of get the initial, but after that, anything that comes in for annex will all go through this fund.
okay.
Okay.
So it's kind of one of those hard years that this might have to flux again. Next year, we might have to adjust them down, some up. Just because it's really hard this year to get a true, we try to leave some money available in case we run into a few more snags, or in buildings every year have some costs, you know, like with utilities and things like that, you know, supplies, mats get torn, cleaning, you know, we've had to clean carpets, things like that. So just really anything that might need to happen there.
Are we not gonna segregate the phone, power utilities and all that, or are you just gonna keep those all grouped together there?
Well, each department actually pays their own phone
Okay,
bill.
okay, so that's
covered
just-
through their budget.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
This is more like the lights,
Right,
things like that. We typically don't break
Right,
those out.
gotcha.
But phone and things like that, we in the past always have.
right.
Even
Yeah.
departmentally in the courthouse, we've always done that, just so each department kind of has a indication of their true expenses. So we always try to do that. Typically lighting, we haven't, just because that would be a square footage deal.
I mean, electric bill and general heat, cool, lights,
Yeah.
all that's
Yeah,
utilities.
that's usually something we just do as a standard building cost. and-
So you'll split it in between public health and split it in between the,
For telephone?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
yep, and the
yeah,
phone company
right,
gave us a
right.
breakdown, so,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. Okay,
Have you had a chance to go over there, Jacob?
I have not.
looks pretty nice.
And the water, so the water's
It'll be,
$100 a
in-
month, water bill basically.
it'll,
Yep,
I've been by there, I've just not been in there.
so, and like I said, this could be one of those budgets that does have to
mhm,
potentially change down the
sure,
road.
sure.
Sure.
And two, if we run into costs and, you know, issues down the road,
Mhm,
I know at one point John mentioned potentially the roof might need redone,
mhm.
so when we get to that part, that'll need to,
Like you said, the general, or the money coming from sales tax that's going towards it. Like this building maintenance is on top of that.
yep, and so this is really, basically, the initial startup of that was all funded through local actions. So this first year, we've been using that for, you know, like when we remodeled and did things like that. Whereas, once we get into the maintenance side of things, we'll need that for, here.
To me, I think it's just worth pointing out, it's kind of, maybe it sounds political, but it's not intended. When you look at where they were over here, Jacob, in this space, and then go over and look at where they're at, and consider that with the money we spent to date, the way they look today, our square footage costs $12.56.
Well, who's right now, currently, there's public health and then.
And the sanitarian.
Sanitarian.
And EMA's office and operations center. And we've had some inquiries about doing some rentals upstairs. You know, discussion about whether 911 dispatch eventually ends up there is still something that needs to be talked about. But there's space there potentially for that. If the VA people have asked for space over here, I'm not sure that the board, her board supports that. And I think the director of the VA would like to be over here. And then I think we'll hear when we hear from Wellness or Chris. Chris, I think, has a brainchild of utilizing one of the rooms upstairs, and we have plenty of room at this point, as a wellness room for our employees.
With any building, yeah, but this basic little thing's $25,000 a year for just to make it go. just to make it happen.
Mhm.
And that's every year, you know,
Yeah, well, it's ongoing.
every year.
So is the courthouse has run out of space,
Right.
and then you gotta factor in what we were paying, for our lawyers that's no longer here, and that space was inadequate, totally inadequate. So, you wanna be efficient, but you can't do it without spending some dough. And again, that
And really,
space,
I think that 50,000 so far that we've spent has really, cosmetic, you know, it's been
Yeah,
well spent,
it's-
really
yeah.
made the building.
yeah,
Just such a difference of,
You know, you throw some paint, some carpet and.
yeah, lights, bright lights,
We
yeah.
redid, put LED lights in,
Yeah.
so, you know, for,
Yeah, compared to what we first saw, it's just amazing.
It
The
is
reformation, the reformation of it, yeah.
well, and then, to get a full sense, you need to walk into Corey's office
Mhm.
over here and put 4 people in that space.
Yeah.
And file cabinets, the
Mhm.
file cabinets they have over there, you can see how workable that was.
Yeah, yeah,
All right,
it's, yeah.
so, do we have a motion on the annex, or is there more discussion, or,
I'm just trying to wrap my mind around all this thing.
I'm sorry?
I'm trying to wrap my mind around this.
Give yourself a little bit of time to do that.
Uh,
Don't try to wrap it too fast or you'll have a brain freeze.
Well, I'm looking at it in the light of rent. Rent is expensive,
Yeah.
but if you can rent a lot of space in Clarinda for a couple $1,000 a month, trying to compare the two, that doesn't count all the other stuff. It just seems.
gosh, I keep taking Herzberg.
Uh,
I keep taking Herzberg on everything.
Because this doesn't factor all the rest of it either.
I'll make a motion to approve the Page County Annex budget.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
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 I don't understand it good enough to vote on, so I'm
Okay.
gonna abstain from that.
Okay. Next is the Shenandoah Building. Okay. And Shenandoah Building's income's coming from Zion
Yep,
and DHS.
yep. So on the revenue side, I did increase the utility side just a little bit because we have been seeing the last 3 years that trending upwards. So I did increase it from 2,500 to 3,000, which supports the last 3 years of received numbers. So, and then on the expense side, we pretty much left everything the same, so there's not really any fluctuation there.
Which one are we on here? I've not got it right
Oh.
there.
Shenandoah Building. Towards the back, it's like the
Shenandoah.
second one from the back.
The Shen bid.
Yep.
Where did you say the rent reimbursement came from? Is that just from DHS and Zion? Okay. Okay. How long has Zion been there? Have they been there ever since we purchased the building? Where were they at before that?
Well, I don't know when they, for a long time,
Yeah.
but I don't know what year that was.
Okay, I'm just curious.
They've been there long before
Mhm.
I came on the board.
Mhm.
And they've talked about ceasing that operation,
Mhm.
but so far it's,
Alan Mortimer, is that who? Yeah.
Do you guys have any questions on that?
ready for a motion then on the Shan building?
I'll make a motion to approve the budget for the Shenandoah building.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
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 Non-departmental. So this is kind of a catch-all. So that windy pitch comes in here, that 3,500 for West
Right.
Central.
Sweden. Yeah.
There we go. All right, so this just picks up some of those other budget funding sources. It's got SWIDA, West Central, apiary expenses. Sometimes we have to pay those. Also in here, if you go to page 2, it's a lot of our insurance, our clerks. I did increase the clerk's budget from $2,000 to $4,000 in case you guys do want to increase the payment for those. So it was built into the budget. I know you mentioned that, Chuck, at one time.
Yeah, say that again, I'm
I
sorry.
did increase it from 2,000 to 4,000, so if you do want to increase that, you have some,
On which one? I'm so sorry.
on page 2, if you look at the middle,
The
township.
ship officials.
Okay,
Second
thank you,
line
yeah,
there.
thank you. Went to sleep on you there.
No, that's okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but, we've been paying them that forever and it's getting harder. Nobody's getting rich on
Yeah,
it.
so I went ahead and budgeted it, and then if down the
Okay.
road you guys want to put that on the agenda and discuss that, you could,
Okay.
you have the money built into the budget that you could choose to increase that even if you want.
What number did you use?
4,000.
No, but I mean,
Oh.
what did it go from 15 to?
$15. I had just did it, I had done up to if you wanted to double it, but if not, you'll,
Okay, so that 4,000 would reflect a $30 thing.
yes,
Okay.
but that is up to you. I just budgeted, so
Yeah,
you
okay.
guys had.
Yeah, we can get that on the agenda and talk about
Okay, you want that on the agenda?
it.
You want that this week or do you want to wait until next week?
We can wait till next week, so.
What is the equipment insurance? Is that for the fire trucks that the townships own?
They actually have to pay a portion of insurance
Okay,
to us each
okay,
year.
okay, that's
For,
what I figured.
like, they have liability on them too,
Right,
as clerks and as
Mhm.
trustees and
Oh,
things like
okay,
that.
okay,
So it's to, pay for some of those
Okay.
things.
okay.
I don't know what the equipment would be. Would there be equipment at all? It'd just be the tort liabilities, wouldn't we?
No, I think it's just the tort, I don't know what
Okay.
it is. That's sometimes kind of, when you pull those different line items, sometimes it packages them with
Okay.
the 3.
Gotcha.
Townships own any of the mowing equipment for the cemeteries?
We hire somebody.
Hire that, okay.
So you want it to
But I don't know
be
other
discuss approved
townships, we don't.
township,
Let's put that on the list of things at the end when we talk about the local option sales tax, about supervisor wages. We can put that on the list of things to discuss at the end before we send the budget to print.
Okay.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think, I definitely am interested in that too, as far as bumping bumping that up?
The page 3 has, just some, I did increase the postage this year. Like I said, that was kind of something this year that we started. So with everybody rolling their postage into general, so, looks like we were trending a little bit upwards, so I did increase that just to make sure that we'll have enough. This is, you know, kind of a catch-all for, if we have any, we pay our ISAC dues out of here, life insurance, our audit for, ISAC, all of those different fees we also, but yeah, that's kind of the bulk of that. On page 4, Chuck, is where you'll see those NACO dues budgeted.
Oh, okay.
And then, this is also janitor, custodian, those types of things. Also too, on jeans, I did budget, a little bit more potentially, in case we run into any overtime expenses. We haven't this year, but I do have the budget for that because of snow removal and things like that. It was something last year, just on my, site I missed, so that was my fault. And then page 5 is your FICA, IFRS, dental, insurance. We also still, we keep, some supply costs in there, just in case we run into anything. We also did set up a separate line under 99 for COVID. That was for the janitor, and he endured some different things, so we put that towards the CARES money. So, if we needed to, we also keep all of our copy paper, through there, just because it's easier. We can get it a lot cheaper, so we try to watch and order that through Quill, and then we don't have every department ordering their own, just because when we can get them cheaper, we do. Page 6, if you look at page 6, this is kind of just a combination of some of the random things sometimes we run into. We have to pay for this is where your telephone comes out, fax machine, our gas, our electric, those types of things we pay for, kind of the bulk of those things under here. And then 7 is kind of a continuation on of just those expenses. Water, building expenses. We had that annex line set up in here. We had it at 210. That was originally when we were talking about the whole remodel. I'm on page 7, sorry, Jacob. Right. So I did still leave that with a 10,000 in there. That can be adjusted if you guys feel. I kind of just did that because it's still a building that we might run into. If the roof, I know John had mentioned potentially the roof. I know 10,000 isn't going to cover a roof, but I thought too, if we ran into any, I know we still talked about too, the ladder outside, you know, some of those things, you know, the fire exit from the second floor to, but those are, well, like I said, it won't cover it, but if there is something large but not too large, it would help with it. So, and then of course we pay extermination services, we pay elevator maintenance, and then we always budget for in case our heating and cooling system is getting older, so every year we do budget. It just goes back in the budget if we don't use it, but at some point it's going to die. So we did redo our chiller. I'd like to say it was just a couple years ago,
Yeah, I
but
think.
I actually think it's been,
Yeah, probably
I've
about
been here longer now.
4 or
but our heating system,
5 before I got here.
we've had some issues over the past, I would say 5 years. Jean has done a phenomenal job of working with Siemens and really changing some of the processes we've done. So we're hoping we can get a longer, or the heater's been here or boiler's been here forever. But those are things that potentially could, it's gonna die.
Yeah, it will.
So, and then on page 8, this is more of our insurance expenses that, these are pretty, our property, our equipment, our safety, and then also public officers, all of our, officials have, bonds on them. And then, our transfer from, on page 9, Jacob, is the transfer, to secondary roads and then to public health. So by code, we have to give a 75% minimum effort transfer for, secondary roads. He always requests 100,000, I always budget 75%. So, and as you can see, each year, based on the 75%, it changes based on your valuation. So it has been increasing. So, it was about almost a 4% increase this year. So that's kind of where those things are at. And then on the revenue side is going to be, other property taxes you're bringing in. So those are all, based on your levy rates and everything, so. Kind of threw a lot at you, what questions you got?
It's a lot.
And then the nice thing about our software system is too, like with the property taxes and stuff, I'd figure them and then drop them in there and then it calculates it all through the software out. So when you see those different, and then breakout.
We took, there's a lot of numbers to look at here, but where the budget for the non-departmental went down a lot because of the annex building,
Mhm.
right? That's what changed
Yep.
it so much.
Yep.
So where did all that money go? That went back in the general from last year that we didn't spend?
Yep,
So we have a
so,
bigger
yep,
surplus.
anytime if it's within a fund, it goes back to that same fund. So like you can see, I did on that one, the annex one on page, what was that, 7? So on 7, I actually did plug in a re-estimate there. I did leave 25,000 in there, just in case, but, like I said, if we don't use that this year, then that automatically goes back in, but I thought the 210 was a significant amount to leave that didn't really reflect, considering we hadn't, we only spent a small portion of that out, so. And then on the revenue side, it just breaks out your property, your current, your delinquent, your grain, mobile home, all those different taxes. So, it kind of just goes through those. And then your credits, it gives all your elderly, family farm, mobile, all those.
So on the cover page, on the fund balances, so the label needs to be corrected 2021, 2022.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, did I not get that? on there?
Where's that at? Which one? Oh, on the front, yes,
Cover-
yes.
cover
Gotcha.
page. So then, as presented here today, without any changes, I mean, if we were to accept the budget today as presented, we haven't heard from the other department heads, but obviously with your software, it would show our tax asking 6 cents lower
Yep,
without any additional cuts.
correct, yes.
And then do we have a final number on valuations, what that percentage was of the increase?
Yeah, I think it was, oh gosh, off the top of my head. I think it was right around, it was over 3%. One was, the urban side, I think, was 3.1 and 3.2, and the rural one was 3.8.
3.8 was.
On the rural
On the
side.
rural, okay. I had 3.2 in my mind, but,
And that's from the changing of how they assess from 80% of value, 50% to 80% of value of farmland. There, is that right, evaluation?
Yes, the valuations,
They're
yeah.
gonna be, even if we go down 6 cents, they're gonna be paying more, probably.
Right.
So it's actually not a cut, it's an increase in a roundabout way. To cut here, but because they changed the way they figured it, everybody's gonna be paying more.
So I thought I would look at.
but and that's so true. And the rural basic, or the ag land really took it in the shorts on these new valuations.
Yeah,
But the expense sides grow. Even if you hold salaries, it costs more for material a lot of times. Now, gas, we should have saved a lot of money on fuel in the last year.
Oh, I think I told you about. So if you don't break it out between urban and rural, overall, it was about a 2.8% increase
On the valuations?
on the valuations, including gas and electric.
Oh, okay. Make a note of that.
No, wait. Hold on, wait, I just told you wrong.
Huh?
I just told you wrong.
It's two wrongs, don't make it right.
No, I told you right, sorry.
Okay. So
I
guess
thought I grabbed the wrong number there, sorry. I gotta get my 10 key up here, this is gonna drive me insane.
Oh, excuse me.
Well, that's not right.
Tell me when I can talk.
Oh, you good, sorry.
Okay, so
I'm sorry, I started myself.
I
Was
see.
loud?
we're way ahead of schedule because I looked at that and I thought we had two lists held at the same list.
We can do it again.
So no, but I do want to spend some time talking about these, this 4%, if it's amenable to you guys.
Are you guys done, sorry, I'm confused, are you done with the?
I just have one question on the business property tax credit that's on page 6. That is what they call the backfill? Okay. And why are all those broken into so many different departments? How do they determine how much goes into the general basic, the general supplement, the MMDD, the rural service? How is that split as far as revenue? Okay, gotcha. Okay, just curious.
It's what, now what's the answer?
Yeah. And I presume that backfill has no longer been an issue in Iowa now for over a year and a half, 2 years?
It hasn't been.
Okay, and I haven't seen it come up on the ISAC news, so,
Well, they approved it
yeah.
and they expect they'll approve it.
Yeah,
But
so,
what's, what page are you on, Al?
oh, that was on page 6 and 7, and it breaks up the agri-land tax credits, the family farm tax credit,
Gotcha.
the different things. I'm just curious how that was determined. That's just based on the percentages. Okay,
And I always estimate those a lot, probably on the low side.
because that way if it comes in, yep, yep.
So then if you do get a higher cost, like,
Mhm.
it looks like we're on 32, around 60,000.
Mhm.
But I do that for the budget, I always, rather than, I always estimate lower and expenses higher.
Okay.
Just because I feel like, when you're doing a budget, I'd much rather our revenues come in a little bit
Mhm.
higher, because that gives us more money, and if we estimate our expenses
So what, going back to the 4%, what is the total cost of 4% across the board?
I don't remember.
Okay.
And actually, I don't know, I don't even know if we do that now. There's not like a place I can go in and just run.
Is that right?
It would be by department,
Okay,
so. Because too, like, when you get to different, like, when you get to the sheriff's department, there's merit increases, sometimes it wants to, you know, like,
Right.
you know, the steps of some payroll. So even if you're running that, I don't know if that would actually be true, would show you a 4% department where because other departments do, you know, like, dispatch shows that there's going to be resistance increases and things like that, so.
So, let's see.
You kind of have to just go a little bit more deeper into the department.
Okay, so in our department, you got the calculator. Super, I'm curious to Jacob's point, with the supervisors, how much is 4% increase cost of taxpayers?
And two, like the files, like, are only, you know, more than,
Right.
so, I mean, their 4% is gonna be, you know.
no, just on the Board of Supervisors, what, just us? What did, yeah, because, yeah,
I'll do it without the sheriff's name.
Okay. While she's checking that, did you notice the thing flashing? We had a, caller last week who was cut off. And, so in talking with her, she told me about, I gave her my cell phone number. Said, if you get cut off, I said, I don't see it. You know, I don't check my cell phone during meetings, but she told me how to make it flash. So that's why I said flash, because it flashes on everything, not just on her.
okay. Yeah, and just Jacob, if anybody does comment, I was on the way home, last week, and I can't remember if it was Fox or one of the news medias had an article, Zoom had actually gone down, last week, and it was about a 5 or 7%, I believe, shortage, and it didn't say what areas, but I found that interesting. So apparently some people were affected by Zoom, last week. So not everybody, just certain, so kind of an oddity.
The change for supervisors is $1,467.
That's what the difference is.
$1,400 total between the three? Or is that for each supervisor? $1,400 increase.
36, 92, 38.
Okay.
If you want to open up the board book,
Yeah.
like if you look at John, it says John, Jacob, I'll get your name in there. If you go to the board.
Yeah.
And on that page one, if you go down to the third line, you'll say salary John Herford, eventually Jacob. But you can see.
Oh, there it is, okay, duh, it was already there, I'm sorry. Oh, I see, no. So that would be at 4% the proposed increase, and we could do that. I was just curious how many total dollars, 4%, because frankly, if the budget can support it, I'll advocate for it, but I have had people say, to Jacob's point, there are a lot of people hurting, and how can you year over year do this, so. Um, But we can have that discussion when it comes up, but I just wondered about the number of actual dollars. Okay.
Well, with what we just said, with valuations changing, everybody's taxes are going up too. In the middle of this, so
Front page.
True.
I think probably across the board, maybe even in town, the taxes going up too, the valuations change in town, right? The way we take the levy times a higher rate now,
It would depend on, I think,
their situation.
yeah, because the cities are completely, you know, how they tax and how they choose to do things, all can be reflected in that, so it's a thing. But if we look at the spreadsheet right here,
Yeah,
this shows you, if you look at that minus and then it shows you,
It shows you on that sheet that, like, general basics, 72,845.
right.
That's the change. General stuff is 54,114.
Yeah.
Your mental health's down 33,764. Your rules, 51,949, based on those same levy rates. So, and then your debt service did not
Oh, okay.
change because your tax asking stayed the same there.
And to your point, cities of Shan and Clarinda will see a pretty good spike once these Vanguard appraisals are done.
Yeah, they're just starting, I know, in Shenandoah, somebody told me they were
So
there.
then the taxes can go even more,
Uh,
once they raise everybody's.
Yeah, everybody's property value in these towns will go up because they're in the middle of that, which hasn't hit the books yet in terms of valuation.
Just the states changing, because the way the ag deal, which I'm involved in, last year they changed the way they figured that, and it made a huge difference in what's gonna be coming out this year.
Yeah, of course, this is driven by the assessor will do this.
Yeah, that's a different deal.
But it will have the same tax impact
It
on
will.
people living inside the town.
Mhm.
are you guys, sorry, are we still on the,
What's that?
we never.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Never.
okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the non-departmental budget.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion or side discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you for keeping us on track, Melissa.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep, no,
You guys started jumping around.
Yep, I
Yeah,
know.
sorry about that.
There's a lot to jump on, so.
Yeah, there's a lot of
It's-
data.
I just want to make sure I didn't get.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, good job.
Mhm.
So.
So if we're bringing in more money in general, because of these higher valuations,
Mhm.
where's that money? I mean, are we have a bigger surplus then? It's being eaten up by the 4% raises and the,
Well, and it
Other
could be
expenses.
everybody's business as well, choosing to fund this year, so. Not necessarily all the rates are covered by that, but just basically, just, you know, like, if you raise one thing $5,000, another $5,000 of your surplus could be going towards that. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Does not have to be with one.
Whoops.
it's everywhere. I think it would be interesting to know across the whole entire thing, how much, or just kind of department by department, if it's
I'm guessing it's $90,000.
somewhere around 100,000, be my guess.
So, and again,
And then where else is the money going? I mean, if we're bringing in so much more money, we need to, that should mean we can lower.
Jacob, I'm not against lowering I mean, to make it personal, I can't speak for the others. I think it's a different thing. I can advocate for lowering ours, but I think that Taylor County is one example. If you go to the 5-member boards, yeah, they get paid less, but they're actually spending more on administrative.
Right, no, I don't have that sheet, I don't think with me, but Fremont County, I think is less too, I think.
Yeah, they are.
And I'm trying to
When
think
they
what,
take that state survey, you know, and all the electeds, we are as supervisors in the best shape of all of our electeds in terms of being
right,
at
so
that.
I'm kind of doing this as a service anyway, so
Uh-huh.
I'm kind of doing this just as a service, I'm not as a career, so
Let me ask you that, I just, not a career, are we career politicians here?
Well, I don't know, well, it's kind of like being a clerk. I'm fine with $15. It's more of a,
Yeah.
accounting, something I'm doing to help, you know, I'm getting paid something for it. And I don't believe I need any raise whatsoever. I'm just starting, but I think lead by example somehow. But like you said, according to the state survey, we're not.
Well, but, and again, I think you need to look at surrounding counties, and with the surrounding counties, we're not underpaid. I'm not saying, I've never said that. But there is, with your employees, I think, there's an expectation that if they don't get more money, then they're not growing, they get discouraged, morale goes
I
down.
understand that. Just have to factor all that in. There's a lot of people who, well, like restaurant owners and things, that are taking a serious hit this year, and their taxes are going up, so.
Right, no.
And they see just having your job
Is
as
a
a blessing,
blessing.
a big
Well,
blessing with benefits.
and that's why I've asked Melissa to put together a benefits summary, because, you know, for our long-term employees, and, I mean, you'll be able to effectively speak of that, as an independent insurance guy now coming onto a group, the value of that, and a lot of our employees have never been in any other situation to fully appreciate
Right.
what that's truly
We're a
worth.
lot of dollars.
And, Melissa says there's something in the software, she can print that out, and I think we need to do that. And I think the fact that health insurance is going down, there's gonna be a little more jingle in their pocket because of the health insurance. Now, they've earned it because they've complied with a
Right.
good year, but you gotta be realistic on what you're able to pay, because like you said, on maintenance of any building, that salary increase isn't ongoing. It's not just this year, it's next year, and the next, and the next.
It's never paid for. It's never all the way done. It's all the time.
So,
I think though, if we're not able to, and not do the full 4%, if we take nothing, that makes it a little more
yeah,
sellable. I think we
No,
can
I
take the worst hit of anybody
sure. No,
if we're trying to cut, to help everybody's tax bill.
Although the big picture, you're looking at $15 million budget.
I know,
And so, you know, $3,000.
1,000 here and 1,000 there.
Well, yeah,
It's real money.
No, yeah, it is real money, but the percentage is pretty small.
I understand that. You gotta start somewhere.
Okay,
So we don't have any other business today, do we?
no,
Shoot, that's disappointing. Jacob, I just forwarded you an email just a second ago that said, I'll just read it real quick here, just letting us know about the new county officer school. No live presentations. All recorded presentations and materials will be uploaded to a base camp site in late January. All registrants will be granted access and late registration is available. So if you don't register, you could use mine, but we'd have to figure out how to do it at a,
Do it here or something.
and it would be, I don't know, for what they have gone through, I don't have an issue for that $25 fee of you registering. I think you need to be registered.
Yeah.
And that way, if something were to happen, I don't want to see us tying up,
No.
you know, I don't think it's, I
I'll probably
think
do
it's.
this at night, like.
Yeah. Yes, well, and that's just it, yeah.
Be worth that, just to be able to do it. You know.
And one thing, and I'm different than a lot of people, I go to a lot of meetings, I do a lot of road trips, I do a lot of things, and I've always prided myself that if I'm doing those things, I don't necessarily charge back to the county my mileage. The only thing I charge for is my weekly trip over here. Otherwise, if I go to a landfill meeting or I go to something else that's not funded by them, I don't turn any mileage in. And I put on a lot of miles out on those county roads. I've got 5 or 6 people that I'm affiliated with that have me go and look at things all the time. And that's where when we get a raise, when there is a raise, a lot of that offsets my extra time, so I don't have to go back. Now, granted, we're all different. That's how I view it. When I'm allowed a raise, and I figure that I can give myself back some extra time. So it's very confusing. You know, it's, as you saw, we just saw a tip of the iceberg today. We've still got about
Prepare. I
sheriffs,
tried to put on,
yeah,
I tried to put on some of the,
you know,
Easy one.
Yeah, the easy ones, the non-confrontational
I
ones.
tried to do you guys into the times, you
Yeah.
can get a feel for things and, you know.
and like I said, Jacob, you're not going to get a full understanding of this that first time, but you're going to have a lot of questions, and that's where it comes in handy. Make your notes at the end of the day, write all those down, and then send the auditor's office an email, and they can go through and sort those thoughts out for you, because they're the ones that understand why those dollars come from certain areas. It's so simple when I'm at work and I can do things any way I want to, but in here, it is so complex. And I had governmental accounting in college. I was an accounting major, and I still struggle with why do we have to have all of these rules? It's so complex, and it's such a, sometimes almost an expensive money that you think we could shortcut, but there's reasons why we can't do that, because there are people that would screw the system if they could. So it's, there's a reason for this. Very complex.
Well, I think you'll catch on.
Yeah.
You may not have to ask any questions. This part of it is hard for me
Yeah.
because of all the rules. I came from private business.
Yeah,
and,
it just stinks.
yeah, it does. It's nothing like I've ever experienced.
Like I said, one of my main concerns is evaluation's going up.
Mhm.
How much did it go up?
Yeah.
And what is that kind of a rough across the board?
How
To look
does-
at trying to make
yeah,
sure we fix that,
yeah.
to tread.
How do valuations though, on the other hand, and the farmer, does that give him more loanability? Does that affect his, subsidies that he can get through the government? And those are things too that,
I don't
well,
think so.
yeah, I don't know.
The numbers, and I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna get them wrong from a year ago, but I think they have your assessed value, and that's a 50%, I think, is what they were.
Is
Your
what-
number, then you pay your levy times that. I
Right,
think it went to 80%, but I could be wrong.
yeah,
Far ag land, it was, they have your assessed value, and then they took it times your valuation, which I think it went from 50 to 80, but that could be wrong.
mhm,
It went way up, and so that number then goes times the levy.
mhm,
So even if the levy's lower,
right. It's
More money.
still, yeah.
where's the money?
And
It's more corrected on.
Yeah.
It rolled back, or whatever the right word, or more affected.
but what's unfair about that is that
I don't have to say that right.
Yeah.
I'm kind of,
what's unfair about that is it doesn't take into account how we deliver a service. It's just like, okay, the state says you're gonna do it this way, it's gonna cost these people now, on the county level, figure it out. Well, by the time it happens, it's just very difficult. What services do you roll back, or how do you?
we wouldn't really be having, if we met the budget the year before and we're okay. If this changes and we bring in this, everybody pays, we bring in this much more money, we were completing the services the year before. We're just gonna have more money come in, and whether we make that for more raises or more, we buy something, or if we met the previous year's budget, this is on top of that, this is new money. And so that's, I'm not cutting even what the year before was, it would be
But
expanding.
What you don't take into account that I think you'll learn, that I think we've learned, is that those services that you think you have covered, when you get the feedback, you don't have them covered in a way that satisfies certain taxpayers. I mean, you're constantly being challenged with how come this project isn't done, you've done this over here, and there are just so many, so.
Right, and that would be, if you make those dollars, if it's the dollars coming from the ag, if they know this many miles of road was made better, they would probably buy into the higher taxes.
Reasonable people thinking would do that, but not all of them are reasonable.
But if they see it as salary increases and benefits, they're not
No,
probably gonna tolerate it.
no, I get that, I get that.
Right, but I don't think you can just say, like, the increase right now is just salary, because you got flexible.
There's a bunch of other stuff, right?
Yeah, there's so many moving parts.
That's just the easiest ones people see.
Right.
Right, but too, I mean, I would say that you've got, I mean, you're funding different projects you're doing, you know, kind of like I said, anytime a line item changes, that'll contribute to that bottom line on down. So, when you see that, yes, your valuations are up, which then makes, if you leave your levy the same, makes your tax asking go up, but at the same time, it's not just your salaries that are increasing.
No.
The,
All kinds of stuff.
anyway, if a supply line changes, if, an election line changes, if, a vehicle line changes in the sheriff's department, any of those things, you know, and then too, you have to break out too, you have to look at the fund too that you're getting, because, salaries don't just hit one fund and go to expenses, like you're constantly, you know, like your sheriff's department is general fund is, rural, and, you know, and two, even with that, your secondary road fund is all funded through, road use tax, but then too, it gets funding from local action that trickles into that, it gets funding from rural that transfers into that. So, I mean, you have so many different moving parts that it's hard to say,
I'm just trying to look at what's going up. Even if we just hold the line, what is the increase on what we're gonna raise? We're not doing it. The evaluation change is making us bring in more, and then we can look at the levy to see how much more we need to raise it, if any, over the previous year. That's all.
right, and right now, as in the levy, your total tax levy is actually gonna go down to 6 cents.
Right.
So,
But we're bringing how much more even with the 6 cent? How much more ask are we, or what's the right word, than last year? Is that on there?
yeah, so that's 845,144.
So we're asking for, even with our 6 cents decline or whatever, we're asking for another 145,000. And that's based on valuation. That's what I was, we're getting 145,000 more when I asking for, that's what we're receiving. Yes.
So,
Kind of confusing how to think about this.
It is. And then you throw in the payment on taxes being 2 years behind,
Yeah.
and it really confuses it. So is that correct, that statement? With a 6 cents less tax asking, we are still total dollars up $145,000.
yep, and last year you were up 230,000.
Last year we're-
This year, the year before you're up 235.
So to Jacob's point, so your goal would be to have that zero.
Be nice to be somewhere near there. And like you said, and what happened a few years ago to me, years before I ever was involved in coming to a meeting, was this happened huge on farmland a few years ago, where they changed the evaluation and it went crazy up. And so that made a huge surplus in money, even though it looked like the levy went down,
Right.
there was way more money being paid. I know things get more expensive every year. It's just trying to make sure. That's probably the number we're working the hardest on. That's the true tax increase is what we're doing right there. We have control to maybe help ease that, over the whole picture, maybe.
Well, it's a
It's
challenging.
a complex wheel.
It is complex, and, I think we'll get it figured out, I really do. The one thing that I would challenge all of us to keep in mind, is you're right, these are real dollars, but you're dealing with total budget of $15 million, operating with the various income streams. I know we're only looking at a portion of that here, but even on this portion, that's pretty close. Maybe that should be our goal, to get that as close to zero as we can every year.
Well, when they do the new,
Well, if you took it 150,000 and did just brought 150,000 on 15% of that, that's the 1%.
Yeah, it's a very small percent.
Yeah.
And,
going into the future though, even, like you said, when they do the reassessment of everybody's homes, our numbers are probably gonna go, that number there is gonna get,
Yeah, 2/3 of your population hasn't had the problem that the ag community has had to this point.
yeah, it's gonna get real high, and then it's gonna, they're gonna see their property tax show up. And that number is kind of the kicker, it shows you what's happening.
Well, that's why, frankly, discussions between entities are really, really important on such things as the library. You know, where the city is, you know, if I live in the city, I'm getting taxed by the city, I'm paying for law enforcement there, I'm paying for law enforcement out in rural counties. So what can we do to maximize each one's tax dollars? I don't know, the tax system is as fair as it's intended, has a lot of points for contention.
I have another question, just off the record, or that subject. Is the budgets that you put in for the other departments, were they pretty close to what they were asking? Or were they adjusted somewhat as you went through? Just curious.
I adjusted from, especially if, like I told you guys, mentioned the sheriff's department asked for the 4% increase plus an additional $1 for the jailers after the 4% increase. So I just put it in the 4% increase as of right now.
Okay.
And I told them that upfront, as
Okay.
well as dispatch did the same for their
Mm-hmm.
dispatchers.
Okay.
Just so you guys can see what the 4%, without the additional $1, and that would be a larger influx there too, and then, if there was any additional, request like conservation, ask for John Schwab to go.
Right.
For the United 45,000,
Mhm.
and 13.8% increase. They also requested $10,000 to transfer from general basic to conservation reserve on top of the 3,000 already. So I did put that in.
Correct. Okay.
So Jacob and Alan, would you have to that point, would you have any objection to when we get into those discussions, challenging our department heads back, in regard to needed market adjustments, whether or not we could ask them to bring additional data for next year's budget, maybe a 3 or 5 year study of what they're trying to talk about, and defer the additional requests, especially if we support a 4% increase. I just, and you weren't here yet, Alan, but like in the case of dispatch, they had an opening, it had 4 very qualified applicants. So throwing an extra $1 in there doesn't make any sense to me. The sheriff has some problems getting people, but I told Lyle this too, and I'll tell him again, I don't think throwing $1 extra for a jailer is gonna vividly increase the amount of traffic. I think there's some other systemic problems there. You've got an aging facility that's not very attractive. You've got more danger probably with jailers in that facility because of the, and so I don't know that throwing an extra $1 is the answer. I really, in that case, think that trying to figure out how to afford a jail.
And I don't know how to factor all this in, but 4%, like I listed earlier, on somebody that makes $100,000 a year, way more than somebody making 10, 12, 15 bucks an hour. That's pennies to them. So this 4% thing gets kind of, a lot of employees get like a few cents, and then a few get pretty good raise out of it.
Well, and there's not, I know that we get more,
Yeah,
so.
I don't know how to think about that, but that percent thing is kind of
The beauty of government.
an honor deal. shake that.
So then you have favorable feelings toward throwing extra money on?
I don't know how to think about that. I don't know whether to, I mean, I don't know how to think about that. Except the people, the few employees that are making 100,000 or so plus, that's a pretty big raise for them.
You really only probably have one employee.
The employee, the engineer, and the engineer would be.
Yeah, engineer.
He's the only one over 100,000 in his system.
Yeah, just those larger. I don't know how to think about that though. I mean, it's, again, that study, where are we compared to other counties? I guess that's what bases a lot of them on.
Yeah.
With those,
I'd be interested in seeing that data, but right now it says, well, Montgomery County pays $1 more. Well, give me more data than that.
And the reality is too, is like, Lyle's salary for comp board, his salary triples to deputy, but the jailer's all for the board of supervisors to the same salary.
I see.
It's like that, just so you have been here in the past for those discussions, so.
I agree. Keeping people, good people, paying them good is good. Turnover's terrible. I fully understand that. And knowledge,
Yeah.
Rewarding people that are doing good is good.
And it's hard because we do have a lot of long-term employees that have been here for a long time and have the resources that, you don't always think about, so.
Right. I understand.
Blessing and a curse, we've done a poor job educating them on the benefits, keeping them driven in some cases. Some have gotten lazy, which is human nature. So most, yeah, I mean, I didn't mean that meanly, but it's kind of like the employee who never takes a sick day and the employee who takes every half sick day they earn.
When I worked at a town job, machinist, I got a couple raises, was totally based on merit. It had nothing to do with cost of increase or anything like that. It was
I know.
merit based.
Yeah, but I will say it is different, but it's not, because several of us, I mean, I can't speak for all elected, but like, when I, decide on my tax raises, it is, they have an evaluation process they go through. So it's not just, anything Angie does similar, where she evaluates her employees, and then every year we can go up to what you guys approve, but not every year does each employee get that. So I would say it is what it isn't, but it's under that department head's direction.
To say what to do.
So,
How long have we been, I mean, I guess I probably saw that. Every year, what has it been? Just
With the amount of raise?
yeah, what's the
It's been
history?
different.
yeah, so every year it passes, some years it's been 2%, some years it's been 3, some years it's been 2.5, some years it's been 3.5.
The 4 is a pretty good amount.
Or,
And-
last year it was, what, 3.5?
You're 4.
I think it was 4 last year, it was pretty healthy.
Yeah. And I think, Jacob, what really sold the compensation board on what they did was 3 things. One was how well the departments dealt with this COVID, how well we provided services to the public, all of our constituents, how well the leaders, the actual elected officials were able to make sure all this happened properly, because even if they did their job, if their employees didn't, then we still suffered. And I don't remember how many phone calls and discussions and comments we had during that first 30 days. It was tremendous number of hours that just trying to make all of these things work. That was probably the biggest selling point for them to, and then next thing was probably the insurance. The fact that, for my 3.5 years on board, how many employees have really reacted to this, what the insurance savings can generate for them, which in turn saves the taxpayers. And then the third thing is probably the work-related injuries, the safety issues. Even though we have spent more for safety to get that culture started, we're working it gradually out to where we can produce more savings that way, because that was tremendous. My first year here, that was really scary when they were coming in from up above and telling us where we were going in direction. It was kind of frightening what we were faced with. So, and the reason all these things have changed is because of the employees actually paying attention and doing their job. Now, should they have been doing this before? In a perfect world, yes, but is this a perfect world? Do we do things that we're supposed to do every day? It's obvious in watching the news media, no, people aren't doing everything they should be doing every day. We should be a lot more loving and gentle and kind in our world than we are. So without reiterating, that's where I got the feeling of where the compensation board went, because we, the county, the employees, have actually made efforts to gain. So that's why they probably recommended the 4% this year versus, because I really kind of thought, in my mind, if they'd have thought a 2 to 2.5% would be, I wasn't surprised. So.
And last year it was 4, year before it was 3.75.
Yeah.
When that's 3.75, in 17, 18, it was 4, and then 16, 17, it was 2, and then the sheriff got 3.
Yeah.
So.
That's pretty back-to-back, pretty
Yeah.
generous.
Yeah, it's been pretty
Yeah.
consistent. That's why, I don't know if you remember John's last meeting, asked him, and he said one time in 16 years there was 0. Which is tough.
And I think with some of that too, on the flip side, the last 3 to 4 years, our insurance rates have actually been going down. But like the first, 3 or 4 years I was here, those rates continually went up, and then basically your increase covered. And some years it didn't even cover what you were paying additionally for insurance. So you have to keep that in mind too, that, there was years where our insurance wasn't. We have actually, in the last several years, our insurance has been better, because I think our employees have seen, and not just seen, but we just have kind of major medical, whereas in years past, we did have some of those things too, but then, all your employees pay for, so.
So depending on what the 4% costs, you could make a case that, okay, because of your help, we've saved $105,000. We're going to share half of that back with the employees, or a third of it, or whatever, could be part of the funding. You could possibly fund it with CARES money, but again, that only fixes, it's an ongoing, you're going ad infinitum, so that's probably not a great solution, but,
And just as anything, like Garrett said, government's different, but we are nothing more than working for the people, and, and if we're making way more than the people are, it doesn't, especially this year, like you said, firsthand in the restaurant, I mean,
But then on the other hand, if it wasn't for the government, I'd have had a restaurant closed. They were able to provide some insurance package or some involvement in the Paycheck Protection Program, which I'll be able to get again, I assume. That's kept us going, kept my employees staffed, the emergency loans. So yes and no. It's been a tough hit, but I've also had a lot of support. I feel like I've been on welfare here in the last unemployment. Being self-employed, we're able to qualify for a pittance of unemployment through the restaurant.
At some point, all that's gonna have to be paid back.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
And we're all
But,
gonna be hurting them.
yeah, a lot of the people have been, haven't suffered as much as, probably we haven't suffered as much in Southwest Iowa as some other areas, because it's pretty obvious. We haven't had a lot of homes being foreclosed on. We haven't had a lot of businesses going out of business. The businesses that have chosen to go out of business were on their way of retirement anyway, and it's just unfortunate that we don't have any people in our communities that want to step up and work hard anymore. So I don't know. I don't consider us in a situation near as dire as if I lived in Chicago, New York City, San Francisco, Orlando, where those businesses have really, their expenses are really hit hard. We're pretty lucky here in the Midwest. We really are.
We've stayed relatively open.
Yes, we have.
But I don't know, I just want to see that we work for the taxpayer, and the taxes are gonna go up.
Mhm.
So if there's all these other savings, maybe we can fund some of the salary increase without having to raise taxes anyway.
Well, that's why I'd like to
Mhm.
take a strong look at those local option sales tax dollars. I mean, I think it's important that we support things, but maybe we support them at a lower level to give direct property tax relief or more direct property tax relief. You know,
It
it depends on
really-
who you talk to on what the opinion on it is, and there are different ways to skin it.
I wonder, since it's 145,000 is a huge percentage, how much would that even change the levy? It wouldn't even be very much. It'd be very, very little to make it balanced.
The problem is beyond our control with what the state does on valuations. And when Jason's crew is done with us, I bet my home value, which they did this 10 years ago, and my taxes went from, I think when we first moved in there, my taxes were $1,400 or $1,500. And they went to 24.5 after that evaluation, and we're gonna get another hit on it.
But does the county need that much more money to operate? Because it's gonna bring in a
Well-
job more, do we?
We don't, like, on ours, we don't control that valuation.
Right, we don't.
No, we control the levy. Our
Yeah,
part.
we can, when
We
that
can
happens,
back
yes.
off. Because I don't know if we need that much more money right now, unless we want to do some massive growth project or fund something, I don't know.
Well, I think, you know, we've done a good job over the last several years with key bridges. I think after this year, our bridges are gonna be in good shape. The Weir dollars were kind of a gift. I mean, to get that all done at the cost and to have the great Weir weather that we had, that was a blessing. But really, other than the jail and becoming more efficient and consistent with our roads and how we maintain roads and improve that process, I don't see any other big projects in the next half dozen years. But keep in mind, you know, Page County has not had a lot of big projects in the last 20 years, you know,
Do we have 2 more years with the 911 system? Or 3?
probably 3 more years
Is it
on that
3?
lot.
Is it 3?
I think, at least.
I can't remember when that.
Which again, you know, the other
2
things
years.
that'll come up
Okay.
are like unified law enforcement, which probably won't happen until, things in Shenandoah change. But,
Sure, blame it on us.
well, I mean, but as you plan for a jail,
Yeah.
how does that look if you have unified law enforcement? And how does that look, you know, with the relationships with our cities? Because I think that the cities for a long time thought the county took advantage of them on 911, and we really did, because we didn't understand the cost. Didn't intentionally, probably, just thought, well, we're giving you 30 grand. It was peanuts on what that 24/7 operation cost. And so now, if we go to, you know, we've gone to that, we're absorbing that cost. If we go to unified law enforcement, which some people are pushing, then the cities are off the hook for that. How do we make sure that,
The unified, you mean have the county sheriff and deputies do everything?
Yes, get rid of the local police and have,
One.
we're getting a few more, there's a few counties that are doing that, and it's helping. Because you find the sheriffs doing so much of the paper servants, so many of the things in the local communities, and it would just simplify a lot of the dollar flows as far as paper trails, as far as things going on, so. You may not see it at the county level, no.
you know, it costs the county
But
more.
you would get reimbursed back from hopefully the
The
community.
budget the cities are spending right now.
Well, you would
Yes.
hope, and
Yeah.
again,
Yeah,
there's been
that's-
some ruffled feathers because of 911. They thought the county was taking advantage for a long time, and now the county's thinking, hey, we're not getting any money out of this deal.
Yeah.
And for time.
Okay.
You guys,
What would you like us to do?
there's public comment and there's improvements.
Oh,
Okay.
And then not we should really start to have anything.
okay. So is there any, public comment? I see Caitlin and Ryan are on the line. Anything you'd like to add?
You emailed it to me, but I don't think I printed it.
Did you, did you have to do that? Do you need?
I wouldn't mind looking at it.
January 4th, if you want to look through.
Yeah.
Drop them on pass it over.
No, I'm other looking at it, look at those records.
I've got, okay, no public comment then on the minutes. I'm gonna take a look. I have one
I read it
correction.
wrong.
Huh?
Oh, go ahead. You had a correction?
Yeah, let's see. Just a second here. I gotta find them. Oh, here they are. The one correction that I had was related to the comment, it's on, I don't know what page this is. After the resolutions during the King update, Morris stated he received a call that the Stanton Road was not bladed well. That's incorrect. I received a call that a traveler from Stanton noticed appreciably better roads once they hit the Page County line. They called to thank us for the clear.
Positive, not a negative.
Yeah, positive, not negative, so,
Yeah, we want to make sure that's public.
yeah, that might make it 5.6 on the Richter.
Yeah.
Was the lady much better?
Yes.
Yes, we played much better than those in the county to the north. Might not wanna, yeah, that's what it said. He came from Sandy, he said, man, the roads were just horrible until I hit the Page County line. He said, thank you.
Anything else?
That was the only correction I had.
Looks good to me.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Armstrong, second by Holmes. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, motion to adjourn, and then we, meet tomorrow morning, regular time at 8:30.
I'll try to be here on time tomorrow.
Oh, that's all right.
Sorry, got delayed.
If not, you're gonna have to agree.
Okay. Okay.
So motion to adjourn, I guess we're adjourned. Thank you for joining us on Zoom.
Make a motion to adjourn. Did anybody else? I'm sorry. Oh, second. Okay.
I don't know if I did a
Okay.
second.
I can't remember either.
All right, motion carries. So we'll end the